Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dawn of Souls. I am my input. Oh, cool. My input's not working. Well, we got that out of the way right at the top. So, Darcy, will you do the intro real quick while I get myself audible? You should be there.
Sure, happy to try. Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited for today. We have a one shot of Invisible Sun, a little known game that I'm quite fond of, that happens to be having a Kickstarter to reprint it going on right now, which is fabulous. But Ian kindly offered to, or was already planning on running some Extra Life games to fund the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. And we thought that was a fantastic idea. And so Monty Cook Games has a deal going on where if you donate to Ian's Extra Life page, we will, if you donate $15 and above, we'll give you a $5 coupon in our store, which can get you a couple of free adventures, very cool stuff. Yeah, so we'll pop that link down in chat. But Ian is also going to be incorporating some of your donations in the form of flux. So when someone donates to Ian's Extra Life page, it will impact our own game by introducing magical strangeness that goes on. So I'm really, really excited for this game. Go ahead and go share that on social media so we can all raise a bunch of money for a good cause and enjoy a great game. And we have a fantastic cast who I will allow to introduce themselves. Although perhaps I should run into and introduce myself.
Yeah, go
Hi.
ahead. I think I should be audible now.
Okay.
Thanks so much for bearing with us, everybody. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but as Darcy said, we are all thrilled to be here for the Dawn of the Soul. It's kind of the two-part stream. We have a big part of it is, of course, the Extra Life charity that we want to support. Money Cook's team has almost already hit their goal, so let's go ahead and push it over during the stream if we can. There should be a link. If you scroll down below the stream on my Twitch page, the link is there, and we'll drop it into the chat as well.
And I am echoing apparently, so I will go ahead and hand it over and let you guys introduce yourselves.
Let's go around. Let's see here by the Zoom chat. So if you want to start, Alexei, and then we'll just kind of go down from there.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Alexei Othen and Gerard. I'm playing Omar Vanderall today, who's an established Stoic of the Order of the Vance. I've got a pocket full of monsters today, so I'm very excited.
Yay.
Who's next?
I think folks, our Zoom chats will be different for everybody, so I'm going to go next. And then we'll popcorn it. I'll nominate someone else. So I'm Darcy Ross. I'm Monty Cook Games Community Relations Coordinator, and I adore Invisible Sun in all of its forms. I've gotten to play it on the Raven Wants What You Have actual play, and I got to run it in A Woman with Hollow Eyes, which is super fabulous. So today I get to be playing Lord Vrix, who is I am an iconoclastic ardent of the Order of Goetica, who hosts a legion. And so I have this fantastic wild bone armor sort of emerging out and around me. And I have all of these entities sort of mashed up within me. So when you're referring to Lord Vrix, see, I'm already messing it up as I get into character. You want to, which pronouns apply is sort of a really tricky question, as there are many individuals with different pronoun preferences, and some don't prefer this, the plural or singular they. So it's a bit of a mess in there, but Lord Vrix in general accepts any and all and even more pronouns, but they tend to refer to themselves as we and sort of in the plural as a generality. So get excited to meet Lord Vrix. And how about we hear from the Red Shaper next?
Sure thing. Hello, my name is Jason Robinson. You may know me as the proprietor of The Secret Cellar, which is an Invisible Sun adjacent podcast digging into all kinds of creativity and storytelling. I also have had a lot of fun co-GMing The Truth Bleeds at Twilight with Ian Smith. And so you can find some of what we're doing there. Tonight, I'm going to be playing the Red Shaper. The Red Shaper is an imperious queen. At least she views herself as such. So she's a little difficult to get through to, but she's a woman of intense passions. She is a maker. She's obsessed with all things creation and also very tuned into destruction. So she lives in a kind of constant state of volatility, very tuned into what it means to channel both forwards and backwards the energies of the red. So I'm excited to play her tonight.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Richard, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I am Richard Kreutz Landry. My big thing that I'm doing right now is writing Descent into Midnight, which is a Powered by the Apocalypse game with Brandon Leon Gambetta, Rich Howard, and Taylor LeBreche. We've got a great group doing it. It's about psionic sea creatures. But tonight I'm going to be doing something entirely different. I'll be playing Locke, who is a thief of ideas. A connected gallant apostate who weaves stealth with sorcery and used to be a large animal vet. So if we run into horrible horses or something and they're injured and something, we'll do something fun. You know?
Good deal.
Yeah, and let's hear about Palome.
Ooh, so I'm going to be playing Palomi tonight. My name is Roarke, a she/her pronouns, as does Palomi. Palomi is a stalwart stoic of the Order of Weavers who explores the noosphere. For those who aren't familiar with that term, it's kind of like the actuality's equivalent to the internet. So it's this kind of web of information that kind of connects everything on an ephemeral level. But Palomi is a weaver. She's got her head kind of turned into a book because she loves books so much. Her house is made out of books. And she likes things that are new and creative. So whenever you're referring to her, if you come up with something she's never heard before, that always makes her very happy. And I guess I should introduce myself as well. I created a small game that you can play within Invisible Sun called Suns and Circles with the Sooth deck. And I've also just been hanging out on Twitter and in Twitch chat a lot. Specifically, I got started during the A Woman with Hollow Eyes game where I helped with that story. So that's me.
Brilliant. And if this is definitely meant to be a no assumptions made Invisible Sun game, so don't hesitate to throw out questions in the chat. This is the first time some of our players are going to be playing this game. So we're going to be really conscious of explaining the rules, kind of giving you a little bit of background. Just wanted to be a kind of like ease-in way to deal with this very complex and involved game. It's quite an experience to get all the way in. So we're going to try and like make a nice shallow entrance point for y'all. Invisible Sun is sold out. It was kickstarted and shipped, and then like I think, did we even make it through the pre-orders before it sold out? So they're doing a second Kickstarter right now, which is funded and working on stretch goals. That should be in. We'll pop that in the chat as well. And that if you're interested in the game at all, feel free to ask questions in the chat. We can probably field them. And yeah, go check out the Kickstarter. It's a fantastic game. So, and then yeah, the last thing I want to touch is the extra life. If anybody makes donations during the game, like Darcy was saying, you can either choose to gift sortilege to one of the players, which they're all going to start off with one sortilege instead of the 12 or whatever that's marked on their sheets. They're going to need help from y'all to kind of have a little bit of extra power there. And then if you would rather be a little bit more of a nuisance than a help, you can also add flux to the game, which is just a way to make, you know, sort of some magical things go awry for our fated protagonists here. So with that, I think we will go ahead and get started. So it has been it's been a wild couple of years for our crew of Vizla here. Vizla is the name of the player characters and the magic users in Invisible Sun. The world is suffused with magic, but there are a few who are the children of Vizla. Vizla being this deific figure that is kind of the source of all magic in the Invisible Sun that gives the game its name. So the Vizla are more skilled, kind of above and beyond the inherently magical nature of the worlds, and these 5 in particular are very powerful. There was a sort of a great war in the recent past that kind of restructured the social scene and even the physical landscape of the city of Satyrine. And in the rebuilding efforts, these 5 Vizsla have really stood out as distinguishing themselves both in ways, some very public and forward-facing and helpful, and also some with notoriety or infamy. We have 1 representative from each of the orders. The orders are the Order of the Vance, which is a very academic practiced sort of formulaic spellcasting. That'll be Omar Vanderel, played by Alexei down there. We have a member of the Order of Weavers, which is Palome. Weavers pick a few sort of archetypal themes, and then they weave elements of those themes together to create magical effects. It's a very free form, really only limited by your creativity style of magic. Each theme or aggregate, as they're known, has certain things that it can do and certain things that it cannot do. So as you find yourself in tune with these threads, you need to find the places where your weaves will intersect and kind of let you achieve what you want to. And sometimes you have to do it in pretty creative ways. Lord Vrix is our representative of the Order Goetica. The Goetics are all about summoning creatures from other realms, demons, angels, living dreams, wild beasts from the Green Sun. They are masters of the summoning circle, of pacts, and of compelling others to do their bidding for them. We have the Red Shaper, who is from the Order of Makers. The Makers are the ones who are the artificers of Satyrine. They build the grand magical works that sort of keep the city running, right down to making kindled items of clothing. You can have gloves that are just magically enchanted to be the best gloves, the most glovey gloves in the world. And the Makers are the ones who do the vast majority of creation of magical the magical artifice in the setting. And then we have our apostate, Locke, who is the apostates are the ones who reject the orders. They find their own way in magic. They're very talented innately, but they don't seek the structure that the orders provide. They really want to find their own way and really be able to dig in and get their hands dirty with magic and find out what they can do on their own. These 5 have known each other from some time. They've found each other useful in advancing their various purposes. They all have disparate goals that mostly align. And today we're going to be focusing on a goal that has been a long time coming for Omar. Omar walks the path of suns. The path of suns is the conduit of magic flowing through the world. As I said, all magic flows from the invisible sun. The suns are kind of like alternate ways of viewing reality. So actuality is, man, I'm talking a lot. Darcy, why don't you tell us about the different suns real quick? And I'll take a break from blabbing on and on.
Ooh, absolutely.
Kind of a baseline to start with, but if we can cover the suns, then we'll get rolling.
Yeah, so with the suns, we will, so everything in Invisible Sun, you can kind of engage with on different levels. And I think that's why this game can at once be wildly complicated and in-depth and totally inscrutable, and also totally manageable, one of the easiest games I've ever GM'd, and quite a delight, and quite a delight to both GM and play. So just as you have that duality of incredible depth and easy breezy, calm, fun ease to the game, you have that represented in the world as well. And one of the ways this dual nature exists is in the path of suns. So the path of suns is all of these different kind of worlds, kind of different ways of viewing reality, the actuality. They're kind of places, they're ideas, they're also elements, and the map of the human soul, whatever that means. But for our purposes, the path of suns is, you can kind of think about it like different places. They might be like vibrational frequency of the same place, but you can kind of think about them as different places you can go, and they sort of follow this order and the order is where how magic flows through these different places. So magic is really held in the invisible sun, which is sort of off of the path. This mysterious name of the game. I will speak no further on it, for you're not high enough level. But the path of sun starts with silver. It's the sun of creation and new beginnings. And so then it moves to goodness. I'm totally not.
No, it's fine. We'll actually go through the order a little bit more in a second. So that was a great overview. Just that the suns are these different ways of kind of like understanding reality.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what Omar in particular studies and what they emphasize in their magical practice. Do you have any thoughts about Omar's take on the path of suns? Any theories to share, Alexei?
So I think that Omar has I think he does not believe in the path of suns.
Okay.
He's starting to suspect that, like, the way that, so the thing that Darcy alluded to is that there's a very specific kind of like map of the suns that starts with the silver sun and goes down to the golden sun, and each sun has its gatekeeper. Each sun actually has two, depending on which way you move across the path. And one of the ways of moving is sort of considered the light side, and the other way of moving is the night side. But this has always seemed a little arbitrary to Omar. So part of his interest in walking the path of suns is to discover, like, is the path even real? Does it have does it have an actual kind of metaphysical truth to it, or is it just that it's the accepted order of suns that people have come to understand, and that, that's kind of that's the reason that the path has.
Yep. Hello, I plunged you all into darkness there for a moment. I apologize for that. I have, let's see here. So I will, I got to reflow my scenes real quick. Give me just a second. But basically, what I had up on screen was the path of suns. So there's the kind of like chain of 8 suns, and the 9th one that sets separately, and they're integral to understanding how magic is kind of like the flux and flow of magic in this world. One of the tools that Vizla used to sort of understand magic is the Sooth deck, which is like a equivalent of tarot. They're these very evocative images, and as Vizla are so in tune with the ebbs and flows of magic, they use the Sooth deck and the Path of Suns as sort of a shorthand for the way that magic sort of rises and falls over the course of any given moment. Give me just a second. Jason, would you like to
Yes, hello.
So the makers are one of my favorite orders. They're fantastic, but a lot of what makers do happens off camera because they do their creation sort of in advance of the stories. So do you have anything that the Red Shaper has cooked up that you'd like to cover before we get into the story proper here? Oh no, did we lose Jason?
Uh-oh.
Well, thank you so much. It's a good question.
There we go.
I think actually looking through this kind of, am I gone?
Nope.
Did I go?
No, you're back.
Yeah, let's see if that helps.
Here.
Okay. I think that my character sheet includes a lot of pre-made stuff. So I think that in setting up this character sheet, they kind of plan. I will only say that the one thing that I'm really working toward right now is hold on here.
Oh, you're leaving us hanging. Okay, I think we may have lost Jason. So sorry about all the
yeah, there's one thing. There's one thing I'm trying to get a hold of, which are some leaves of hatred. So.
Oh, okay. So that's sort of his hatred crystallized into a thin sheet, almost like a sheet of paper, but it's the pure emotion distilled down into that form. So Jason, you were having some issues. You might consider just going to audio for the time being, since you were cutting out a little bit there.
I'm gonna try cutting my audio from Zoom first, and if that's still weird, then I'm gonna call in by phone. All right?
Sure, sounds good. All this brings us back to the Path of Suns and the where we are walking today. So as Omar's been researching the Path of Suns and whether or not it has any meaning or if it's just a kind of a convenient lie, he came across a text in a dusty and forgotten corner of a library that suggested that there was a shrine called the Well of Vizla that seemed to be one of the places where it was studying at the Well of Vizla that the Path of Suns was originally conceived of as a way to understand magic. It's significant. I mean, their Path of Suns is something every Vizla interacts with, and yet nobody speaks of its origin. So it was strange to find out this little tidbit. And with more research, with some great difficulty, he discovered the location of the Well of Vizla. And that is where you guys are going to be headed today. It's in kind of a rundown district. There's mostly warehouses and kind of like tenement buildings and just a really rough part of town. But there is a single stone structure that seems sort of unaffected. If you didn't know it was here, it would be very easy for your eyes to slide right over it. But there, in the middle of all this squalor, is a building that is untouched. There's no graffiti on it. It doesn't seem to be particularly worn with age or anything like that. Even there's nothing leaning against it. There's no trash immediately next to it. It's just this single sort of like island in the middle of the city there. Has no visible doors, but there's the inscription that runs along the top in the scripts, readable only to Vizla, that signifies it as the well, and those who wish to understand should drink of its water. Omar, you do not know how to get into this, but you have found it. Jason, are you still there? Do we have you on audio? maybe.
Maybe.
Okay, we'll see if we get Jason or not.
I think so.
Oh,
Okay,
yep.
there we go. There we are.
Great.
So the 5 of you are there. The 4 of you are supporting Omar in his investigation of this particular bits of the history of magic. You have a building with no obvious entrances. What would you all like to do?
Can you describe so first of all, Omar, I think, has a little bit of a bad habit of speechifying. He's definitely he was a stage magician in Shadows, so like as the 4 of you show up, he sort of launches into this I'm so happy that you could meet me here. I really appreciate that all of you have taken time out of your busy schedules, to investigate this building with me. I hope that it's contents. And he kind of goes on and on. And the 4 of you, I think, know him well enough that Locke is listening politely, but my guess is that the rest of you have pretty much already started to scuttle off and do some exploration.
Yeah, Locke is definitely sort of smiling and nodding and goes to lean against the building and sort of puts the tip of a finger against the wall and just sort of looks back because he can see through walls.
That's true.
So he's going to attempt to do that.
Sure.
If he can actually do that.
Yeah, that's one of Locke's abilities, right? From your so I should have Palome or Rourke read Palome's character sentence at the top, and maybe that would be a good thing to go through for everybody. Like, character sentence is a short way of kind of summing up who a character is and what they're capable of. Do you have yours handy there, Richard, or would you like me to read it?
Yeah. So a thief of ideas, a connected gallant apostate who weaves stealth with sorcery.
Yeah, so Locke is kind of a magical a rogue, a thief, kind of has a lot of capabilities for getting into and out of places undetected. One of your forte abilities from Weave's Stealth with Sorcery is See Through Walls. It's a level 5 effect, so you'll need to spend 5 sorcery if you want to do this.
Absolutely. Let's get it rolling.
Sure.
Ooh, shall we draw a suit card?
We should draw a Sooth card. That is what I was trying to set up before, and then I got sidetracked. So we will see if this works.
So I have a question. I dropped over to phone audio, which should be, I'll sound worse, but be more stable. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right.
You sound good. I am going to give me.
While you're doing this, I think Palome comments, "Well, Locke, I know I've said this before, but your name's awfully ironic."
You'd think that, wouldn't you? I mean, it's not all about getting into places. There's certainly keeping other people out as well.
It's true.
And, you might say it's a lucky name.
And in conclusion, I want to say that all of us will do our best on this mission, and I look forward to working with you, says Omar, opening his eyes for the first time in about 5 minutes and realizing that there's no one there listening to him.
Excellent. I think, let's give this a shot. I think we should be set up this time. Yes, lovely. So we have the Path of Suns up on screen. Hopefully I'm still audible this time around. The Path of Suns, like I was saying, is a metaphor for understanding how magic flows through the worlds. It goes along the path from top to bottom, and on each of these circles you play a Sooth card, which gives you some insight into what the magical nature is of this particular moment in time. I'll go ahead and do that now. Ooh, ominous. Our first card is the devil. So I'll go ahead and
Oh no.
get the art up for that real quick. The devil is a nemesis of... I should have got my The little 4-pointed squiggly thing. Which one's that, Darcy?
4 point. That looks like visions to me.
Okay, the nemesis of visions.
How fortunate you have a goetic with you.
Yes, indeed. So this is kind of an inauspicious beginning to your endeavors. The devil has connotations of dark deals and sort of foreboding, right? There's a warning there. The devil has his own intentions at heart, not yours, certainly. So you're definitely beginning on an ominous note. And we also have this is a nemesis card, which means that people who are of the family of, you said visions, are going to be acting at a -2 for the time being until we have another sooth card draw.
And -1 for the rest of us, I believe. So
it's pretty rough way to start. So who all is of the family of visions?
That's a great question.
on your character tome, but
it should stay under heart,
not the family. That's definitely one of the things I was going to have spooled up. We will we'll just press on for now and just let everybody act at a -1. One thing to note, Richard, is that because you're an apostate, you're not beholden to the flow of magic in the same way.
Oh, that's right, because I have.
So if there's negative effects from the Path of Suns,
okay,
disregard it. So you don't have to worry about it at all, and you were the one that was about to take an action anyhow. So why don't you go ahead and, if you wish to spend 5 sorcery and
absolutely,
the ability to see through walls, excellent. Can you describe to me what, if anything, spellcasting looks like?
Oh, so yeah, he's just casually leaning against a wall and like I said, sort of listening to Omar do Omar's thing. And sort of just looks back casually, and like I think he just takes his finger and sort of just like makes a little circle and then just peers into it. Like he's making just like a little thing that would normally be transparent for a normal wall, but who knows what's going to happen here.
Fantastic. So you look inside and you see it's interesting. So this is a circular stone building, kind of like rough worked stone, with kind of a lip at the top. And then when you look inside, you see a smaller version of the same thing. It's just one large open circular room with like a miniature version of this building on the inside. And there is a woman inside dressed in robes with a hood, and she is sitting cross-legged on the floor and reading a book.
So he sort of like turns back and says, well, there's someone inside. They don't look like they're prepared for company. He just knocks on the stone. Hello.
Yeah, it's pretty solid, and you can still see through. You see the woman looks up at the sound and sort of smiles and goes back to her book.
Any tips, tricks, hints? You're supposed to drink from the well, right? It's a little tough with this in between. He sort of taps on the wall.
Okay. I am. So you said we're all at 1 sortilege?
Yeah, everybody's starting at 1 sortilege until, except for Roarke, actually. Roarke, you are at 3 because there are 2 people who have donated and invoked your name. So
awesome.
So you're going to start out at 3. Everybody else is at 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that Omar is going to search the building.
Sure.
He has a skill of 1 in searching, but he is going to do some sortilege to give himself a better chance of doing this.
Okay, and what are you searching for exactly?
An entrance to the building.
Okay, I mean, sure.
Let's say what he's searching for specifically is like a part of the exterior wall of the building that's different.
Okay.
And so he has a skill of 1 in searching. This is an intellect task, I assume. No, perception?
Intellect, yeah.
Okay.
So let's break real quick to talk through how it looks when we make rolls in Invisible Sun. All of the challenges that are put forward are going to be a single kind of a unified system where you state what you want to do, and then the person who's running the game will set a difficulty for it. And sometimes they'll keep that hidden, sometimes they'll tell you what it is, and then you build a venture. So if you have skills that are applicable, if the most recent sooth draw is favorable or unfavorable to you, all these things factor in, and you kind of build up what your total venture is, and then you subtract the venture from the difficulty and roll a d10, sometimes multiple d10s, to see if you can get that number or higher. So Alexei said he wanted to use sortilege, which is a way of sort of just putting a little bit of extra magical oomph into whatever you're doing. Vizla can suffuse anything with magic. It doesn't matter if you're, trying to climb a wall or detect subtle notes of berry in a glass of wine, or whatever you're trying to do, you can do it better with magic, and that's what sortilege represents. So you are not just looking physically; you're also extending your magical senses out. And
yeah. And in this case, the way that this looks is Omar produces like a wand, this sort of like gnarled wooden, very Harry Potter looking wand, which is like
old school.
Yeah, like it's actually like pretty unfashionable for Vizla to use something like this. Like people who see him do this kind of magic in Saturnine are like, well, come on, dude. It's just it would be like using an old-timey telephone, probably. But he pulls out this wand and like taps his breast pocket, and all of these little tiny like eyes with mouse feet come pouring out of it and go skittering around the ground and just like sort of like encircle the building. And each of them seems like it's looking for something.
I'll never get used to that. Ugh, steps over one of them.
Even our ancients are insulted, Omar.
Omar, I've got this stars and moon hat, but I know you've refused it before, but I really think that it would fit with your vibe. So, I mean, I've got it here whenever you want it.
Ooh.
Omar's just like, silence! I'm doing something.
Go ahead and make your roll, Alexei.
I'm going to spend an intellect. I have a point in searching, but I think my total venture is 1 right now because of the devil causing me trouble. But I am using a sortilege, so we'll see. Yeah, I got I rolled a 9. My venture is 1 and I rolled a 9.
Excellent.
Nice.
So that's another we always roll d10s, but the 0 is actually a 0, not a 10. So a 9 is the best thing you can roll. So that's and was that on your mundane die or your magical die?
That was on my mundane die. My magical die was a 3, so no flux.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, you circle the well and kind of are feeling the stone, looking for any, it's all the same sort of construction all the way around. It's this rough work stone. The mortar seems solid. You don't see any cracks. You're not finding anything. But it's actually as you are were they rats that you sent out to?
They're eye mice.
Okay, sure. As one of the mice is skittering along, you actually notice a very faint, soft blue glow as they run by. The mouse doesn't stop or notice anything, but as they pass a section of the ground at ground level, there's a faint glow.
Useless, says Omar, and with a wave of his hand, just like all of the little eye mice just turn into wisps and like disappear. They're not real in any meaningful sense of the word. So
Lord Vrix, they are climbing this building. How high is it?
It's a good solid like 30-foot building.
All right. Just not gonna announce it. Just starts climbing.
Excellent. You have all those extra hands sticking out of your.
So many hands with so many minds.
What time of day is it?
Good question.
What time of day would you have asked everybody to come here?
Probably like noon.
Oh, really? I think that's the like. Oh, Lockstow looks like he rolled out of bed 20 minutes ago. Like,
it's a time of discovery and knowledge when the indigo sun is directly ahead of us, illuminating things with its indigo light.
Illuminating everything.
Well, the brighter the light, the deeper the shadow lock, right?
The red shaper just hadn't arrived on time, but you hear this kind of like awful just chittering, which like if you've known her a while, you're used to it by now, but it's just this like and it's like, oh, here she comes. And you look and it's kind of creepy because as she's like, you're up on the wall, Lord Vrix, and you like look back down and you can see just all these kind of spidery legs bearing a throne from like waist up. If you couldn't see the legs, you'd think she was on a skateboard. She's just like, and all the legs are like doing this over the terrain. And, but she just kind of arrives and like, you look behind her and you've never seen this before, but there is an object that looks kind of like a very tall silver, it's like a cone that is glowing, like just like obnoxiously bright. That's just kind of following along behind her, and you're not quite sure what it is. But it's a little taller than her, so she's probably 10 feet tall up there on her throne, and this thing's like 12, 14 feet tall.
All right. Real quick, Vrix, you were on your way up the wall. Let's go ahead and make a roll for that. This is not trivial. It's rough work stone, so it's definitely doable. I'm gonna just call it a challenge of 3.
Cool. Vrix is skilled in climbing. Again, all them hands.
Yeah.
Locke gets a sortilege from Brian Kurtz, which is fabulous, for a $25 donation. Thank you. That's fabulous. And did you say we were in Fartown, or are we in another neighborhood of Saturnine?
Yes, this is in Fartown.
Cool. Someone was asking about the weather in Fartown, and of course, it's always a crisp autumn day in Fartown. Excellent. So I'm not going to spend, any bene. I'm just going to rely on, I'm an ardent, so I'm act fast, make decisions, passion, and get this done. And I want in this thing because the Well of Vizla is sure to assist all of us in our attempt to better the Goetic organization and take revenge on our secret backstory that won't come up into play. But know that there's a secret backstory in play.
Yeah, all of us have that same goal.
Yeah.
Ooh, do we? Exciting. So I rolled so my venture was 1 from my skill, and I rolled an 8. So we are, even though my venture would have gone down to 0 because of the Nemesis card, an 8 is still pretty solid.
Yeah, that's excellent. So again, assisted by these, otherworldly hands that are pushing out through Lord Vrix's skin and helping them stabilize their ascent up the side of this building. They make it look easy. It's like watching a spider that occasionally has a couple of extra legs go up this rough worked stone. When you get to the roof, you see that it's the same kind of stone all the way across, very slightly domed, and there are a couple of there's a couple of gaps in the grout work at the top to let it drain out, but other than that, it's unexceptional.
Well, I'm just gonna perch until we have a better idea. We will just perch until the others give us a better idea.
Excellent.
I had a question on the secrets for the echopraxia, the sort of watch and repeat. Does that cost anything, or is it just an action to observe?
Echopraxia does.
Because it doesn't mention a cost.
Yeah, so it's a level 5. So I believe you still have to pay for those, right, Darcy? It's just like a forte ability for secrets.
It doesn't look like it. I think they list a cost.
Is that just the cost to buy it initially? Yeah, because that
I think
costs you an
secrets you have with you once you know them.
That's fantastic. That's what I wanted to believe, but then I was doubting it.
It's a good secret.
Yeah, no. So by watching Lord Vrix ascend up the building, if you could as well.
Yeah, so I think he just kind of keeps that in the back of his mind. So if he wants to pop up and annoy them at some point later, he can do that.
Awesome.
Great. So Alexa, you did there was that one kind of like glowing blue section of the grout at the bottom that your eye mouse revealed.
And I think that Omar is going to move towards it, and as he does so, he'll call to Locke over his shoulder, and say, "I found something.
Oh,
you have better luck with it than I."
And so Locke like sort of taps on the wall again and sort of like points over to where Omar is walking. Go, huh? See if she does, see if the person inside in the robes reacts. And he's just like, oh,
no, they're reading their book. It's, you can see the depth of the wall, right? Because you're looking through it.
Yeah.
These stone blocks are a good, more than a foot thick. Like, so probably someone inside couldn't hear you too well. Just because you can see them doesn't give your sound any extra commands. But
he's just like, oh, all right, we'll do this the hard way. And so he starts walking over, and he sort of like flips a little salute over to the red shaper as he walks by and sort of raises an eyebrow at the giant, like, whatever the hell that is. We'll ask about that later.
The giant thing does not acknowledge your existence, but the red shaper, nods back.
He sort of smiles, and then so he walks over to where Omar is. So what did you find?
Omar's crouched down and is sort of like poking at this blue glow gingerly with the end of his wand.
Yeah, so the glow came when the eye mouse was there and left as it kind of scurried away. So it's just like when it was in proximity to it. And feeling around now, you can feel that that little section of grout is actually an illusion. There is a divot in there. And Locke, now that you're here, you can see that into the ground is like, so there's the wall here, and there's the grout kind of like set, there, like there's a little tiny indentation and then in the ground there is some sort of mechanism. It's not clear what it is, and it's not technically part of the walls. You can't see through or into it. Or actually, is it specific? Or yeah, you touch a barrier wall, I see.
Yeah,
you see through the wall, but you can't see into the floor, unfortunately. But you do see that there is a mechanism there.
Okay. So he sort of like looks over his shoulder and looks at Palomi and's like, well, if this doesn't go well, it was nice knowing you. And he typically tends to do that to a different person every time. And so he does a thing where he just sort of like, there's nothing in his hand, and he does the and then does like this, and then he's got a lockpick in each, and then starts going to work. And he's gonna try and figure out what it is and hope it's a lock.
Sure, yeah, no, it definitely seems to be a lock of some matter. You kind of like you can tell that there's a physical component, but there does seem to be, it seems to be more than that. Like you have enough experience with locks that you know that this is not just a simple like
oh yeah,
a couple of picks and we'll be through sort of thing. So you are going to be looking at either needing to use a spell or possibly using some sortilege to enhance your lockpicking ability to be able to do this.
So I do have the Lock's Nemesis, which is a silver lockpick. It is level 3, +1 die.
Perfect.
Which I think that would be...
Yeah, exactly. That will let you that'll let you attempt to pick the lock. Let's see.
Okay.
Does it have?
All right.
Remind me that it doesn't say. It doesn't.
Here we go. So using this lockpick adds +1 to the venture of anyone attempting to pick a lock. And if the lock is magical, it automatically adds an enhancement of +1 die. And yeah, so for that, I can't spend sortilege because it's already magical, but can I spend from one of the pools, an applicable pool, to increase the venture?
Yeah, definitely.
All
This
right.
would be this is going to be would be from your intellect pool.
All right.
Do this because it's more about understanding and like decoding the lock than it is the fine movements of your fingers at this point, since it's a combination physical and magical lock.
Awesome. All right, so we're looking at 2d10, and the fancy swirly color one that I got at a raffle at a catacon is my magic die. So
nice. And you
all
have
right.
a skill of 1 in lockpicking as
Yep.
well.
So that would be a total of 2.
You have
three
a
venture.
2 and 2 die.
Okay. So we are looking at a 3 on the mundane and a 5 on the magic die with a venture of 2.
Excellent. That will do it. So I mean, Locke's nemesis is, one of your best friends in the world. And you guys, you've been through a lot together. And, when you have just enough room to kind of get it around that odd angle and sink it into the lock, and you give it a few twists, and that this is going to be something that's going to, this is imminently doable, and you get that sense of satisfaction and feeling the little like tumblers click into place, the sort of currents of magic align, and with a very like deceptively like quiet whoosh as opposed to the grinding you might expect, the wall does open up, revealing the chamber within.
Okay, and he definitely sort of like he gets the lock, and then he sort of does the and then does this, and then of course they're gone, and he shows off that, and he sort of like he winks at Omar. After you.
He does a little clap.
Oh, I'm sorry, I do have one other bit of business to attend to though, because somebody bought some flux. So let's see what happens. This is, because this is Vizla as well, there's just a lot more eddies in the magical currents right around here. So we're going to be dealing with more flux than normal. Just a warning to y'all.
I was thinking that like he's definitely got his back turned to the door as he does all of this, so feel free to do with that what you want to do. Not paying attention all the way it's inside.
Well, so like I said, you're in kind of a rundown section of the town. There's like an old tenement building behind you, and as you do turn that last bit and kind of like click the mechanism to open the door, you hear not like a crash, but like the soft spidering of glass all up the side of the building. All of the windows crack. None of them burst or anything like that.
Whoa.
But all of them are just like slowly spidering behind you.
Like, that's a new one.
All right, so you have a open door in front of you. As I said before, this is not news to you, but the rest of you are seeing for the first time. The interior of this chamber is a large round circle. Just there's no interior walls at all, so it's just this entire outside is mirrored on the inside, and there is a smaller version of the building. It seems is like maybe 1/3 scale, set in the center of this room. And there is a woman who, up until the moment the door opened, had been sitting and reading a book. She kind of like closes it on her lap and presses her hands together, and the book disappears. And she stands up and says, "Hello, welcome. It has been quite some time since I've had visitors. Please come in, introduce yourselves."
Red Shaper turns around to the figure and just says, like, "Dim that down." And then it kind of like not only gets softer, the light is not so obnoxious, but folds itself origami style into a smaller version of the same shape. It's now kind of hovering by her shoulder.
Nice.
Excellent.
I think Omar will usher everyone else in first. Takes a second to be like Locke and Palome, and looks around and is like, "Lord Vrix, did you
Scuttle, 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 scuttle. Should I
Oh,
have
there you
make another roll on the way down, especially with the spider in glass?
I'm sorry. Sorry, say it again. I was in chat.
Do I make another roll to get down?
Oh no, going down is going to be much easier because you only have to make it a little bit before you can drop safely. So we'll say that Lord Vrix goes ahead and makes it down without a problem.
Great.
And there's no windows in this building, so you don't have to worry about the glass. This is the building.
Ah, I see. They're all next door.
I just have this image in my head of like you see the doorway and the four of us are walking through, and then we just see like Lord Vrix's head, like as they climb downward.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I will go ahead and turn us a new Sooth card as well.
Yay!
Get rid of the devil there.
Yes.
Right.
Omar greets the Red Shaper as she kind of heads up to the building, and he sort of like gives her a semi-formal bow and says, "Your Grace, glad that you could join us."
She nods and smiles. It's a small smile, but it's a smile.
The Red Shaper.
It is good to be here. Thank you for this invitation.
The Red Shaper terrifies Omar. She just scares the bejeebus out of him. So.
She titters affectionately at you.
And
he tries real hard not to let on, but and he'll step in after her, after she scuttles in on her terror chair or whatever it is.
Your exquisiteness, Red Shaper. It is good to see you today.
Your
Indeed.
preeminence.
You as well. You as well.
We have. Sorry, go ahead.
Are you Lord Vrix? Are you up somewhere, or I didn't catch? Are you down with us?
I just finished prying myself off of this wall with my many. We just finished prying ourselves off the wall with our many hands. We're
Excellent.
ready to see what this woman has in store.
Okay, so the new Sooth card is Lucky Coin. Much better omen than our previous. It is a value of 4, and it's going to be making silver magic is amplified right now. So if you're trying to do anything that falls under silver magic, which is primarily creation, then it's going to either cost 1 less or have a +1 to its effective level. And by conversely, gold magic is diminished right now, so it will either cost 1 more or be less effective. Lucky Coin itself has meanings of good fortune, freedom, unexpected luck, and sort of an free or unstructured kind of sensibility. So it's a very, very nice way to enter this building with you have that. It mirrors the freedom of Locke being able to open the door, and so you get into what's in this mysterious building here. We have the woman standing before you, kind of like dusts herself off and stands and raises up, palms out, says, "Please introduce yourselves."
What does this room look like that we're in? So we've got. Is it enormous? Is it old looking? Is it just bare stone?
So it's bare stone. It is just
Wild.
exceptionally austere. So the floor is of the same stone, slightly more polished, as if people had been walking over it instead of just standing as part of a structure. But there's no furniture. There's no adornment on the inside. There's the like on the upper kind of like upper casing, there is the same inscription as was on the outside, inviting you if you want knowledge to drink of the well. And there's this woman in here with no visible, there was no means of access. There's no visible food. She is just in there with a book that disappeared when she stood.
And she's wearing red robes,
book's
right?
not there anymore? I'm sorry.
Yes, she's wearing red robes with a white sash.
Awesome.
The book is gone. She pressed her hands together and it vanished between them.
All right. Well, if no one else introduces themselves, Locke is going to take a step forward and say, well, I'm Locke, and normally I might call you your crimsonosity, but I reserve that for our friend here. And he points to the red shaper.
Nice.
She just nods and looks to the rest of you.
The red shaper just leans forward, kind of peering down over the edge of her chair and says, but first, who, may we ask, are you?
There's no need to be rude. I am Manawa. I am the keeper of the well. And who, may I ask, are you?
I am the Red Shaper. It is a pleasure to be here in your room.
Well, it's a well.
It is a pleasure to be here in your well.
Well met.
Oh, that was. I mean, you could say, "Well, it's a well, actually," but there.
She looks like she's been holding on to that one for a little while. So.
Finally, someone to make my joke to.
She looks over at Palumi, eyebrows raised.
Hi, I'm Palomi, and I'm wondering where your books are stored. Like, what's your category? How do you categorize your library? I imagine you've been here for a while, and I just want to maybe have a talk with that if we have time after drinking.
Oh, certainly. I've made an arrangement with a few of the libraries in Saturnine. They loan them to me at their discretion.
Interesting. And Palomi seems to just be thinking about that really hard for a while, kind of going off.
Most activities go a little better after a little drinking, so to be expected.
She looks to Lord Vrix.
We are Lord Vrix. There are many of us, and it would take far too long to introduce us all. I'd like to, while I'm introducing myself, see if I can identify the spirit. Like, do I know them? The challenge is equal to the level of the entity, and I can attempt to recognize any spiritual entity by sight. The challenge is equal to the level of the being. So let me know if that's possible. This is from all of Lord Vrix's various studies on strange beings. It seems like when it says identify, probably not like who this is, but like what it is, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead and make a roll.
Sure. I'm going to spend Bene from, I assume, intellect. Probably.
Yes.
And I'm going to spend a sortilege.
Excellent.
Worth it. So
I'm sorry. I feel like I'm behind. If people have donated and I've missed it, go ahead and call it out in chat so we can make sure we get you all caught up because they're burning through their sortilege pretty fast. They're going to need
yeah, we are. Yeah. All right.
The challenge is 5.
Cool. Goodness gracious. Ooh, the challenge is 5? Okay, so I only rolled a 3 on my first one, and my adventure was only 1. But I rolled a 6 on the second.
Excellent.
So,
yeah, that's good usage of sortilege there.
What manner of spirit is this?
You are well versed in the various, entities that are commonly summoned by Goetics. There's, demons that come from the dark or the red. There's the sentient dreams summoned from the blue. There's the angels of the legacy scattered throughout the silver and gold. You have not had occasion to summon too many spirits that are natural to the indigo sun. And this seems to be
wow.
a being of distilled truth.
Beautiful. I sort of nod after my introduction and let that process. It's hard being multiple people.
And then last, she turns to Omar.
My name is.
There's no need to hide behind the others.
Oh no, he steps forward. I was only being polite. My name is Omar Vanderall, and I have brought these people here today. Yes, people here today to discover Vizla's secrets and possibly drink from Vizla's well. Show me forth to secrets and or well, please. Thank you.
She gestures to the sort of the miniature building type thing behind her and says, "Well, you're at the well already. Whether or not you choose to drink of it will be at your discretion, of course. I think that there's a few things that you ought to know before we come to that point. But again, welcome. It has been some time since I've had any visitors, and I'm quite pleased to see you all here. This well was one of the primary places where people would come to commune directly with Vizla in the time before. Alas, the communication has been severed, but there is still a lot of power in this place if you wish to understand the nature of the invisible sun and the currents of magic that flow through these realms. It's not a journey to be undertaken lightly. You will be faced with many challenges if you choose to drink of the water. But if you can traverse the entire path, you'll come away with secrets that have not been known by any who still live.
As she's been talking, Omar has been very quietly just getting more and more excited. And again, like he's trying to keep it all inside, but like he's practically vibrating. Like she's like, challenges. He's like, challenges, yes. Walk the path. He's like, yes, I like that too. Let's do this. Very well. I will walk this path. Anyone else? Are you guys coming?
I think Locke kind of gives Omar just a little bit of a nudge with an elbow, like, yeah, and just sort of like grins at him, like, okay, we're doing this.
All right. So
Red Shaper leans over and just says, "Pardon if I may. I had been told that Vizla stopped communicating with her subjects directly many years ago. Have you communicated with her directly back in that time?"
Then yes.
The Red Shaper sort of looks taken aback for a moment and actually nods her head for a moment in deference to this person.
So it's been hard. It's been so quiet without them here, but I knew that someday some would come to once again drink in the knowledge.
Wow. You never got
We are
to play
honored
the
to be
spiders
here.
game.
Sorry, what was that, Roarke?
I think Palomi's just kind of thinking off onto the side that you haven't gotten able to play the spiders game in quite a long time. That's a game that weavers love to play and play whenever they get the chance. And it's unthinkable that someone would be locked away here and never get to play that game for years and years.
Yeah, she smiles at you all and says, "Well, if you wish, then I will show you to the well. I must warn you, there's only one opportunity to do this. If you begin this journey and fail, you will not be able to attempt it again."
Failure? With my friends by my side, I'm sure we can do anything. Almost anything.
The currents of magic are auspicious this day. We should try now or never.
What Lord Frick said. Been wise.
We have Darcy, you have picked up a sortilege from a donation.
Thank you.
And then we also have Jess and or Ash. Let me know what you want to do with yours, if it's flux or sortilege for one of our players. Manoa stands straighter, kind of like adjusts her sash. Looks again, she just seems pleased as punch that there's people here, and she walks over and places her hand against the stone wall of this inner structure, and some of the stones slide out one by one to create a staircase that ascends around the structure.
So the Red Shaper stands and begins descending from her chair, which is actually something none of you have ever seen before. In all of the time that you've spent traveling and or adventuring with her, she's always remained up there. And as she does so, she disrobes, and it's not a sensual motion, she's just doing that. But as she steps down, her skin, the very colors of her flesh, just immediately start chameleoning and taking on like this constant swirling of patterns, but it's picking up what is behind her. So at the moment, it's all just like stone and, you know, the dark grays and browns of this old stonework. And as she steps forward, her face is still, you know, she's not invisible in any sense, but it's like a natural camouflage, and it's just kind of constantly subtly shifting. And the sort of silver cone behind her is still just is hovering, and she steps forward and comes down and actually reaches out to take the hand of the guardian and says, it's such a pleasure to meet you, and thanks for giving us this opportunity.
Oh, I assure you, the pleasure is mine. The opportunity is yours, and I hope you make the most of it. I would be sad if you didn't return, and it would be nice to be able to have some company.
We will do our best. We would enjoy that.
Locke kind of goes over to Omar. It's like, did you know she could do that?
Not specifically, but I'm sure that
Most social situations do not call for it, but it is useful when needed.
Omar, this path is fundamentally yours. Do we have time for the totality of us to summon a being to guard our way, or should we stride in?
No. I think here. I mean, he'll look at Manua at the guardian of the well. Like, may we have a moment to prepare ourselves before we embark?
Of course. As long as you're within this chamber, the time is yours. If you leave, then that will be counted as your opportunity. You turned aside from the opportunity when it was presented to you. But you may make whatever preparations necessary before the waters.
Lord Rix, please summon your host.
Little chalk nubbins come out of nowhere, out of little cavities, and oh gosh, what's the word for little holes and skulls and things? Fossa. Many little fossa, little chalk nubs are being pulled out with many hands. An elaborate protective circle is drawn over a few minutes, muttering to ourselves. We are summoning Mazion, a demon from the red whose name I know.
Ooh, excellent.
Ooh.
So because you know their name, that succeeds automatically. So Mazion appears within your summoning circle. And this is a being that you've dealt with before, or is this a recently acquired name?
It's a being I've dealt with before, but perhaps being that we've dealt with before, but perhaps none of you have met yet. Darcy is open to you telling me what this might look like, but it is a demon from the red. It doesn't have a level listed on the character sheet, but I can summon up to level 5, but I imagine if I know its name, that's you know, the level 5 thing's kind of new. It's maybe like a level 3 guy.
I was going to call it 4. We'll split it.
I'll listen to that. But I can let you give it the flair.
Sure. So Mazion is a demon. Demons come in all kinds of forms. Almost all of them are utterly horrifying. Mazion, in particular, is they are a series of flat sheets of black leathery flesh that have little like hooked kind of barbs sticking out between each layer and very long needle-like legs that stick down. And it has full control over extension of both the legs and the barbs. So you've seen it like reach out with barbs and like, you know, snatch an insect that has, you know, gotten into the summoning circle and before. Altogether, it's not a very large demon. It's, you know, kind of, it's almost the size of, if you think of like a good sized bar stool is kind of like the size and shape of Mazion. But you know them to be a pretty canny demon, and they certainly have ways of dealing with things if they need to, you know, remove something physically as well. So
Excellent.
So I have to say that during this whole time of the drawing of the summoning circle, really the minute the chalk came out, the strange thing hovering over the Red Shaper's shoulder has started to twitch and shift around uncomfortably, and until now it has just seemed like a solid object, except when it was origamiing itself, and little panels of this sort of metallic looking material are twitching and shimmering and folding over each other. It looks like when a small animal starts getting nervous. It's like that kind of sense you get from it.
Oh.
And the Red Shaper keeps leaning over her shoulder and kind of trying to calm it, but increasingly leading up to the time of the demon's actual appearance, that's seeming to be less effective.
Interesting.
Yeah, so noticing this, I think Palomi goes up to the Red Shaper and asks, Your Eminence, I was wondering, did you find those leaves of hate that you were looking for? Are those them?
She leans over and she says, "Oh, well, I haven't found them. I'm still looking for those. This is Teriol. I thought you had met them once, but they sometimes come to assist me. They're really not very comfortable with the change in composition of the party at the moment, but I think they will be okay."
Well, thank you for the introduction.
Indeed, and even despite all of this sort of chaos, at the moment that you make that comment, Teriol forms himself into like a tighter shape and just glows, just a pulsing glow for a moment of light that feels very warm and inviting, and then goes back to its sort of cold metallic jittery stance.
Awesome. All right. Darcy,
I'm gonna do one last thing before we set off.
Sure. Is this during the summoning, or do you want to do it the last thing before you head out?
Last thing before we head out, but not it. I don't think that Omar doesn't make it necessarily a big production out of it. But I am going to use my forte ability, the Truth.
Ooh.
So it's a level 5 ability. I see through illusions. I see things invisible and hidden, and I sense when I hear a lie. And it depletes on 0-4, and you check each hour. Okay. So I think I'm going to have it up, and then if I see an illusion or hear a lie, I'll roll to see if I catch that.
Okay, so any illusions or lies?
Mm-hmm. Illusions, things invisible and hidden, and lies.
Okay. There's nothing immediately obvious. This is a very Spartan interior, and did you share the nature of Manoa with the rest of the party, Darcy?
While I was while I was drawing the summoning circle, mm-hmm. I would definitely say a spirit of the indigo. We've always wanted to meet one of those. I've never summoned one.
Okay.
So
Cool. Yeah, so knowing that this is a spirit from indigo, it's not surprising that there's not too much falsehood going on here.
Right. Yeah.
We do need to get back to finishing off our summoning there. So Mazion will appear before you, and accompanied by just a really sickly, oily sense, just a kind of like oil slick on the beach that's killed a couple of seabirds kind of smell.
Ooh.
Yes, Rix, what can I do for you today?
Rather, Mazion, it is what can you avoid from us today, and how can you avoid it? I'm going to coerce this thing on account of I know its name. We have power over you, and we will. We have the ability to put you in bodies you'd rather not be in. With the snap of one of our many fingers, are you willing to guard us today and keep quiet and still and where I tell you? Um, if you simply do as we ask, you will avoid such pain and suffering, and also perhaps there will be a bit of treat for you at the end. I sort of pull out of one of these bony cavities a little bit of like dried jerky with a fleshy bit dangling off the end, something timey-wimey where it's very old and charcoal on one end of the long strip of meat and raw and bleeding at the other, and everywhere in between.
You see like a gray kind of knobbly tongue slip out between, two of the layers and lick across the, protruding fangs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's worth just saying right now, the Terial that's with me is in fact an angel.
Yeah.
And and so but I think that seeing that the relationship that you have with the creature that you've just summoned is at least halfway a relationship of fear and intimidation. Yeah, the being just kind of begins expanding back, maybe not to the full size you saw before, and comes near you. And unless it'll give deference to you, Lord Vrix. So if you tell it to do something else, it will. But it comes up and basically just like plays bad cop to your good cop, and kind of like leans in and makes itself larger and glows a little bit.
Fabulous.
And just kind of towers over the creature in the summoning circle.
Oh man.
And Lens has got your back in this.
That's
in this
so
exchange.
good.
Excellent. That's fantastic.
Bad cop and worse cop.
So you're going to need to make your colloquy roll. You can choose whether you are going the intimidation or the bribery route. You kind of hit both of those aspects. Whatever works better for Vrix. If you do go intimidation, though, you will get a bonus to your venture based on the looming angel behind you. So
yes, I'm going to go intimidation. Let's see. I'm trying to remember if that's two actions. So the intimidation I'm sort of suggesting is related to an ability I have to like force beings, force summoned entities into a body. Often that's a very nice thing. It's a ghost that wants to be in a body,
right.
But presumably I would put it in a physical form that I could control, and it might not like that. So that's a very real spell I have that I think it knows.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I have my bad cop. I'm also trained in intimidation, so I think I've got a venture of let's see, one from my training, one from good cop, and then I don't know if you would count the spell I have as like a very meaningful intimidation. That might count as another one.
Yeah, if it's seen you use that spell before, then I'll go ahead and say yes. I went ahead and threw the character art of Lord Vrix up on screen so we can see all the FASA that stuff out of.
Thank you. And I think I'm gonna throw a sortilege at it because that's, I mean, spend them if you got them, I think.
That's right.
At this point. So, and I want this to go right. So I think I've got a challenge of 4, unless it's higher with coercion. I'm new to being a goetic.
Oh no. So you, yeah, it's going to be a challenge of 4 and you're there, right? Like between...
I think it's 3. Skill, angel, and then my spell.
Okay, yeah.
Cool.
Yep,
so
you just need to not roll a 0.
Don't flux. Yeah.
Don't flux it up. I'm sure no one has made that joke before.
Goodness. All right. So mundane. My mundane, it was a 1, which would still succeed, and my magical's a 4. Okay, cool.
Excellent. Great. Yes. So you see it kind of like, it's sort of like its little like needle-like legs that's delicately balanced on. It kind of like, shuffles uncomfortably for a moment. And then it sort of like the legs bend and it sort of like gives this very strange sort of bow and says, this one will do this thing for you.
Well, all right then.
May we step across the circle?
Scuff up a bit of it to let it through.
Sure. And yeah, you have a little like pinchery,
So many hooks.
Yeah, stinky, hooky demon following behind you now.
What's the name of the angel again?
The name of the angel is Teriol.
Carriol? Cherry?
T as in Thomas. Teriol.
Teriol. Beautiful. We thank you for your service, Teriol. Or if you've given us that name.
Teriol just pulses again for a moment.
Good. All right. Thank you all for waiting for us. Hopefully this demon will guard our back if we face challenges that it can help.
No, Omar sort of looks at the party and he's like, "Is everyone ready? I think everyone's ready."
I just need to clarify something. You said that you could put it into a body that was worse than that.
Why, it's all relative. It might be a very nice body for you, Locke, if you ever want to join it. I would have to spiritify you first.
We should talk.
Oh, we should.
Fantastic.
So good.
Omar, now this is really your thing, so if you want to go up the stairs first.
I would feel remiss in assembling everyone here and then asking them all to go in front of me. So yeah, I'll take the first shot up the staircase, down the staircase rather. And I think Omar heads off.
All right, yeah, it is up. So it's it's the stone circle in the middle of the room, and the stones have protruded out, so you can ascend into it. So you're more or less in the center of the chamber, both in all three axes, really. Like when you come up to the top, you see that it's just flush with water, just a very still, like still, and it has that like pure spring water scent. Even though there's no motion, there's no splashing or anything like that, you can still just smell that like really fresh mineral water kind of wafting off of it.
This is water on the staircase?
This is the well is like a literal well. Like it's like a 10-foot tall well, and it has so you go up the stair around the outside, and then there's water at the top.
I got it. Thank you.
Can I see anything in the well? Like, is there anything?
It fades off into a nice, like, deep indigo color.
Gotcha. I had assumed Omar sort of like shuffles around the edge of the well so that other people can get up behind him, and he's sort of like, I thought that it was going to be challenges first and then well water later, but maybe it's the other way around. Maybe it's well water first and then challenges later. And he'll bend down and like scoop a handful of the water into his hand.
What? Wasn't there also something about some things we should know before proceeding with this task? I was kind of expecting that before we arrived at the well, but here we are.
Manuel just says, if you have any additional questions, please ask. I just wanted to warn you primarily that there will be challenges that you'll face and that you do not have another opportunity. If you turn your back or fail at this, you will never learn these secrets.
Well, that's not an option.
I agree.
So Locke takes out a flask that he's got sort of tucked into his jacket pocket and sort of looks inside, swishes it around. There's a little bit of liquid in there, downs it, and then just dips it into the well. Takes up some water and goes, yeah, and so hands it to Omar.
Sure. As soon as you sip the water, Locke vanishes from view.
That's what I thought. Water first, challenges after. And Omar will scoop some water and sip it.
Yeah, likewise disappears.
I instruct my demon to, of course, come with me via the water.
Yeah, it like is like shifting like on its little like needle feet and seems uncomfortable about this, but its like gray tongue snakes out and dips into the water and it vanishes as well.
I think Palomi's actually going to sprinkle some water on her pages and then kind of it seeps into the pages and she'll disappear.
Perfect.
Red Shaper reaches down and kind of, I'm not even sure anyone's here to see this anymore. Who else is left? No, it's just me.
It's just
she
you
just kind of
and Manoa and Teriel, so.
Oh, okay, great. So yeah, she kind of fiddles with her fingers for a minute and then like pops into existence a silver cup, and then looks, takes a drink and kind of does the whole like connoisseuring of it for a bit, and then takes a drink.
Well, yeah. So you get that smell, like I said, you get like the really clean, clear, mineral-y notes. You take a sip, and then all of you, not like in the order that you arrived or that you drank. So Locke, you don't have any time before anybody else shows up, but you all appear suspended in just this vast, endless stretch of light that's almost like painful to look at. You're surrounded by it. You don't have any sense of gravity or being stood on anything. You're all on the same plane, but there's no ground that's visible. There's nothing except for this white twinkling light all around you.
Oh, this of course had to be the first challenge, didn't it? Oh, so he sort of like puts his hand over his eyes, like, oh, you see anything?
Omar's gonna look around. Is there anything invisible or hidden that would be revealed to me through my indigo truth spell?
So that gets you illusions. I don't think so.
It's just very bright.
Yeah.
Okay. He'll sort of. I think Omar like very quickly. He's a very like staid. He gives off this very staid air. But like these kinds of situations, because he walks the path of suns, he's pretty used to like suddenly shifting into a wildly different medium. So this is actually not too uncommon for him. So he very quickly starts like twisting through the air, kind of trying to figure out like how much control does he have over his orientation? Can he like will himself to fly? Can he propel himself?
With a little bit of concentration, you can levitate. Your inner ear still says that this way is down, even though you don't feel any motion, you don't feel anything under your feet. So like trying to twist and spin is a little uncomfortable. Like your interior mechanisms don't want to do it, but you can.
Okay. And is the light coming from anywhere?
It seems sourceless. You can see each other clearly, and without shadow, you're illuminated from all sides.
Huh.
I would actually like to do a weave.
Sure.
So I'm going to weave together infinity and freedom. And so taking from freedom the concept of escape, and from infinity the concept of other universes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to try
Nice.
to weave together almost a ship that will kind of scoop all of us up and take us out of wherever this is.
Excellent. That's beautiful. So that is going to be a creation effect. Let's take a look. So with weaves, there's always a little bit of kind of figuring out of what exactly you're trying, like what the closest effect is going to be, so that you can approximate a level for it. I think you're looking for. Create a temporary item or structure no larger than a small area would contain you guys. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That is a level 4 silver effect. Oh, and we should definitely flip a new Sooth card, since we are definitively not where we were before.
Yes.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Yeah. So Locke is definitely still doing the like, oh, and he's sort of like looking around, and there's no shadows anywhere. It's just like, This is terrible. Omar, what did you get us into this time?
Something's wonderful.
This is fine.
Is it though?
Well,
have turned over Lost Star. So gray magic is accentuated, indigo is actually diminished. And this is I mean, it's almost as if you're within the Lost Star, right? You are in this place separate from everything else, perfectly illuminated, but with a kind of timeless sense of otherness, of separateness. That fits very nicely, actually. You go ahead and pull on your...
That's a level 4 task, you said?
Yes, the level 4 effect.
Okay, so I would spend 4 sorcery for that?
Sorcery, yep, that's right.
Okay, perfect.
And then this is not contested, so you will just create it.
Wonderful.
So describe the ship for me, Palomi.
So Palomi has her Testament of Suns actually takes the form of a long chain, and she kind of unfurls the chain from her sleeve and kind of whips it out. And as she does, the light kind of forms into a small wave, and the wave goes up, swells, and recedes. And behind the wave, there's this kind of small dinghy, like a canoe almost, that's just big enough to fit everyone else. And it's made out of what looks like just stars and just infinite space. But it's big enough for everyone to fit in, and it kind of drifts over in front of everyone.
Beautiful, yes. And as Palomi is weaving this spell, you feel that this all-encompassing light around you is pulling in and focusing around this swirling vortex. And the light begins to dim, as it almost seems like it's being pulled out of the sort of ambient area and into this this ship that Palomi is weaving before him. And it doesn't completely darken. The light merely dims as, you know, this vessel of small space but infinite depth, you know, is how it appears before you. Yeah, and it bobs gently as if it's on the water, even though, again, there's nothing beneath it that you can see.
And Palomi steps in and offers a hand to whoever wants to get in next.
Oh, much better. Locke definitely like hops in as quickly as he can.
Excellent.
Yeah, Omar clambers in.
Great.
Will it hold our weight?
Yes.
I'm skeptical, but takes a step.
And I think Palomi kind of grabs
in
some oars and starts to row.
Lovely. So real quick, Jason, did the Red Shaper bring their spider throne thing, or did they leave it behind?
The throne stayed. What you did notice is that as she was taking off her robe, she took a strip of the robe and just like tore that off and kept that and kind of tied it around her waist. So in the middle of, you know, a situation like this, really what you're seeing, she has this kind of gaudy silver crown that's on her head, and that's not affected by this, you know, what are the color changes in her skin, nor are her hair or her eyes, like organ features, but every part of her that is skin is always just taking on, like, really with great detail, kind of the light and color that's around her. But then she has this one strip of fabric that's just kind of like tied around her waist, that she seems to be holding for something.
That's fantastic.
And as a mechanical thing, like this effect has depletion every hour. So like, you know, at some point here soon, we'll need to check and make sure that the spell doesn't bend.
Okay, fair enough. Just a real quick note: we hit our initial fundraising goal of $1,000 from Monty Cook Games. So
thank you so much, everybody. That's awesome.
That's
thanks, guys.
Exciting.
But great.
Don't feel like you need to stop there. Let's keep pushing and see how far we can go. So,
I should make a meta comment too, that I just made a donation, but it's obviously a conflict of interest for me to assign Flux or Sortilege. So anyone who's in the chat who has not donated and has not gotten to assign, whatever credit I get for that, whoever claims it next can then assign whatever they want from that.
I am actually going to award everyone one Sortilege additionally since we hit our fundraising goal.
Yeah. We need it.
I'm just swimming in Sortilege at this point.
Well, it's nice to finally get to use the thing of buttons that I have hanging out by my computer. They make great little counters, and they're all different and fun. And
oh, that's fantastic. That's exactly how the character sheets are set up. I have one here. Hold on. You have, instead of just having like, you know, the number of whatever your stat is at the moment, we have these let's see here, pools that like you're meant to put little chits in to track so that you can spin them if you have an enhancement that's like a sortilege that's for a specific stat. You can just put the die right in there to track it. It's really nice. I don't know.
The Invisible Sun black box also comes with these nice little markers.
Yeah, and the character sheets for, I'm just going to show them briefly because I know that they're just all amazing. They're different for each order, and they're beautiful, and I love them to death. And I am hoping that they provide us some way to buy bunches and bunches of extra, because I will probably rip through them.
How many sortilege have we been granted just collectively? Was this the first time, or?
So you started with one. I awarded the whole
great.
party with one, and then there's been a couple of individual.
Yeah, I was just asking the whole party one. Cool, I'm good.
So someone, we need to. All right, someone. Let's see here. Orsic, you were saying that you spent all your spending cash on dice, right? So why don't you go ahead and pick whether it's Flux or Sortilege for somebody, and then let's Lemonade. Oh, Lemonade, that's cute. Lemonade, go ahead and pick one too, because you were the first one in chat today. So
oh, great! Lemonade's my sister.
What?
Oh, excellent.
Great.
My little brother's in chat too. He hasn't been chatting much.
Oh, awesome.
Aw, yay!
Yeah, just pop in chat whether you want a Flux to occur or if you want to grant Sortilege to somebody. So,
nice.
But we're all in this. We're in this boat that Palomi has constructed. Ken, do you want to walk Lemonade through the choices real quick in the chat? And as I said, the light is dimmed definitely, and as you get in, you have a sense of motion, even though there's no landmarks, there's no objects to give you a sense of passage. But when you're in the boat, you feel that you are progressing somewhere, and the light does begin to dim more and more. And before long, you have reached a point of total darkness. And we're actually going to take a quick break because we're at our halfway point right now. So before we move on to the next challenge, we're going to take a. Are you guys good with 5 minutes? 10 minutes?
5 minutes is fine.
5 minutes is fine.
5? Yeah. So
all right.
And we have a double flux coming up, so you can probably roll on the higher flux chart, or however you want to do it.
Yes,
very
we
exciting.
definitely will.
Oh boy!
We'll make a mess.
I was
we're going to take a 5-minute break.
Gosh, the chat will be nice. They'll Sortilege. Won't that be nice? No.
Flux is still nice. Love Flux.
Good deal.
It's pretty good.
And we'll be back in just a few.
Okay.
Are we off stream?
We are, as soon as I figure out how to be off stream. Hello. Welcome back. Or I guess we're coming back to you rather than the other way around, isn't it? Thanks so much for hanging out. Well, we took a quick break. Just to recap, we have hit the goal for Monty Cook set for the Extra Life stream, but I think we're going to go ahead. There's a whole nother day. Darcy's got a game that she's playing in tomorrow, right? So are we going to increase the cap to 1,500?
I think let's try for it. Yeah, let's try
go ahead
it.
and push for it. So, I mean, if you guys want to flux with our Vizla or give them sortilege so that they can power through these challenges, definitely the donations are still open. You guys have been exceptionally generous, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
The Cypher System Discord is also, there are some people who are donating, I think $1 to the Extra Life for every person who posts like an I voted selfie into the Discord chat. So I think we're going to hold it up through voting day, and then we'll see where we get. So maybe I'll come up with something else we can run in the meantime.
And is there something with followers on this channel?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm donating $1 for each follower I have at the end of the day. So if you haven't followed yet, go ahead and hit the follow button. It's a free buck. If you are not interested in what I'm doing in later, I will not be offended if you unfollow. But kind of one of the ways I was keeping track of who all was here. I would really appreciate it. Helps me out. And don't forget, if you're interested in Invisible Sun, the Kickstarter is going. And I did not get the link in before, I don't think. So I'll go ahead and drop that in right now.
Yay.
Oh, except for I'm typing on the wrong. Oh man, guys. Yeah, so we are returning to our intrepid Vizla, who have they've crossed a boundary of sorts. It grew darker and darker, even though there was no objects to be seen. No obvious source of light, but it grew dimmer until there was complete blackness. And the next thing you guys heard was the sound of insects. Creaking, chirping, rustling kind of sound of the, of a jungle night. There's bird calls. There is flowing water somewhere in the distance. And the darkness lifts like a veil, and you find yourself deep in a like primordial looking like swampy forest.
Much better. Much better.
Omar looks around and nods as if something has been confirmed in his head. And starts like, he just sort of starts like moving slowly around the environment, just kind of like peeking into like nooks and crannies. He's not looking for anything specific. He's just sort of like investigating the environment.
Okay. You are, it's there's a lot of plants that you haven't seen before, a lot of fungus, big ferns, everywhere you move there's something else moving as well. There's a lot of bugs, there's a lot of small scuttling lizards and rodents around. You can hear birds flapping through the trees overhead. Were you looking for anything in particular?
Is there can I see anything in the distance, or is the vegetation too thick?
Oh no, it's much too thick. You have visibility of like maybe 40 feet.
Okay. I think Omar I'm assuming that I'm not seeing anything hidden or illusory through my truth spell.
You are not.
Okay.
You see your your demon companion is much more at home here than it was in the silver place. It seems to be, like deciding that the bugs are enemies that you need to be protected from, and it's like spearing them with its little, pointy tipped legs, and that
and then eating them.
warty tongue slurps out and eats a few as well.
Okay, it's horrific, but also adorable. I have an idea. Okay. Is there anything? Are there fruit in the trees?
Go ahead and let's have a perception check for that.
Okay.
Because this is pretty unfamiliar vegetation to you.
Would searching help?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not gonna spend any bene. I'm just gonna roll.
Okay.
I rolled a 9. So venture of 1, 9, roll of 9.
Rolling well today. Yeah, you find some things that you're reasonably sure are fruits. There's there's sort of like a purple and red streak, bulbous thing that's dangling from one of the branches that looks like it might have had flower petals around it before that have dried and fallen off. And you find a couple of other ones that have fallen to the ground nearby. There's another sort of like clumps, like almost lima bean looking kind of thing that is a deeper, like bluish with white speckles. There's stuff around. I mean, with a 9, you're having no trouble finding various
right,
the place is replete with life, so fruit and seeds are around, certainly.
Yeah. Okay, then I'm going to focus on the fruit that I saw on the branch, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to cast Thalassin's Eager Grasp, which is a green spell which causes an unattached, unattended, inanimate object within short range to fly to my empty hand.
Oh, excellent. And I should have turned over a Sooth card when we got here, huh?
Oh, that's true.
So let's go ahead and do that first off.
And surely nothing bad will happen with the 2 fluxes.
No, I can't imagine what could possibly go wrong.
Double flux is like a double negative, right?
Sure, yeah.
We have a Whispered Lover is actually the card.
Oh, it's a great card.
Turned up. So that is much better than it could have been. Moment to find this cat so I can turn it off. There you go. Lost Star. So Whispering Lover is accentuating gray magic. I did not look up the symbols as I was intending to do during the break. So if you guys can, if you have a
like
chance,
mysteries to me, but I should check. Wow.
Yeah, those of you who have the books, if you want to look up what you are and what symbols go with them, that would be delightful. Because I
think it is mysteries.
Yeah, I don't have it ready to hand, but
I spent a whole season going, what's this symbol?
Yeah.
So now apparently
they didn't put the word on there.
Superpower. Yeah.
And mysteries
should be mysteries is I'll find out for us.
So we have Whispering Lover, and that in a place replete with life like this, you're sure that there's it's very much a cycle. There's a lot of, like I said, a lot of fruit, a lot of seeds. There's a lot of bugs, and you do turn over some you turn over a leaf and the entire bottom side of it is just covered in like some sort of egg sacs stuck to the underside of the leaf. There's a lot going on here. You were doing your Thalassin's Eager Grasp to grab the fruits. And the fruit is not resisting. Are you holding on to your spell as a Vance, or
yeah, I'll spend
the Vance mechanic real quick, Alexei?
What's that?
You want to talk through what makes Vances different as
sure.
casters?
So Vances have access to a sort of separate pool of spells that have been developed by other Vances and taught by other Vances. Those Vance spells, Vances consider all magic to be alive, but those Vance spells specifically sort of like live in your head, and when you cast them, you have a chance to recapture them. So when you cast them, they sort of leave your head, and if you use magic, you can sort of bring them back. And I think that like in this case, like the Omar does this like these very specific passes with his hand, and then holds his hand out, and the fruit flies into it, and he grabs it, and then at the same time, there's just this like little tiny green wisp that sort of like seems to flutter out of his head, and with the other hand, totally casually, he just reaches up and grabs it, and when he opens his hand is empty, and he's held the spell.
That is lovely. We do have another bit of business to attend to, though, because we had a double flux coming up. So we'll see what happens with that as well. You do have the fruit in hand, though.
Okay. I think Omar is waiting for something to happen, and while he waits, he peels and begins eating the fruit.
Okay. As
You're not really gonna. You're
Probably fine, says
If
Omar.
you die, I get your wand. I'm calling dibs on it right now.
So yeah, you catch the fruit, and you also catch the little wisp of a spell that was escaping your mind, and just behind you, there is a kind of like one of those ferns, like big, curled in ferns that starts to smoke very gently, and then like just bursts into flame behind you, and the noise in the jungle just like amplifies for a moment, is like all of there's startled animal squeaks and cries, and one roar mixed in there, and like all of the animals are clearly agitated by this. And it's a fern, it's a pretty like wet plant, but it's like burning, it's going to town over there. So
Do you think that's part of the thing, or is this just was that you?
I don't think so.
Nice.
Is this the kind of thing?
like a nearby tree, like up the trunk.
The fire is spreading.
Yes, the fire's spreading.
Oh dear. Okay.
Oh. No.
So I'm gonna the red shaper steps forward and holds out her hand as though in a toast, although there's nothing in her hand at the moment, and she says, "Vizla, now is your hour. It is time to make use of the light of the discarded candles in the dark." And when she says discarded candles in the dark, her voice gets all like spidery and creepy, and in her hand appears like a big, as big as you could possibly hold in one hand, a big jug of water. And like as she raises her hand in a toast, she seems to be encouraging you all to raise your hand in a toast as well. And as soon as you do that, Lord Rix, the same like big goblet of water appears in your hand as well, and you all have just a huge, as large as you can hold, a big mundane goblet of water in your hand.
Sweet.
And then she like tries to throw it onto the fire.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
So this was an incantation, by the way, and so this is an ephemera, which is a one-time use thing. This is a thing that I know how to do, and it causes me and up to 6 of my friends to have a mundane object be summoned from nothing and appear in their hand at that moment.
That's fantastic.
And yeah, we just made some water. I don't know how much water that is relative to your large exploding fern, but we'll start.
I mean, if you all have like, you can comfortably hold like a gallon in your hand.
Like a milk jug full of water.
Yeah. Well applied, you can mostly douse it. You there's still a little smoldering, fringy edges of the fern and whatnot, but like you mostly have put it out. It's a very like wet, greasy smell of the smoke, but it's out. And you notice that the forest has gone strangely silent around you after this little affair.
Now, may I make a suggestion?
Yes,
So,
Ptolemy. What are you thinking?
in the last place, I created something, and then we got here. Now, the first sun, the silver sun, has to do with creation.
Mhm.
Maybe we have to
That's true.
do something with life here.
I had hoped that just casting a green spell would be enough, but I think it'll need to be something a little bit more complex. And as Omar is saying this, he's like taking the seeds from the fruit that he's been eating, and he pulls one out of his mouth and bends down and like digs a little hole and puts the seed in and pats the hole up.
Okay, sure. It's delightful. Go ahead and make me a withstand roll, by the way.
Oh boy!
Oh, no.
What's the which stat is that? Physicality?
Physicality. You can spend physicality bene to give you
Uh,
add to your venture.
I will spend a physicality bene.
Sure.
Hey, I'm rolling gangbusters tonight. A 9, another 9.
Wow.
Wow.
Jeez, you really are. Yes, the fruit was like pretty good. It was a little sour, but not bad. But you feel it like curdling your stomach. Like you can kind of feel your stomach cramping up a little bit. Not enough to like impede you or anything, but the fruit did not want to be eaten.
As Omar stands up from having planted the seed, he's sort of like, "Don't eat those. Actually, no, I was wrong."
You definitely should have listened to Locke.
Yeah, they're not. Locke, you were
that's
right.
generally good advice. I don't know how many times I have to tell you before it sinks in.
I mean, it's the green sun. It's the sun of growth. What could possibly harm you here?
It's your funeral.
You know, as soon as I said that out loud, I realized where my mistake was. So, yeah.
So I'd like to look around just at what's sort of nearby and arms or a few steps reach. Is there anything dead here or like that was alive but now is?
I mean, the forest floor is thick and spongy with fallen trees that have been rotting for a long time. There's moss. There's like I said, there's a lot of fungus. It's all various stuff in various stages of decomposition makes up the forest floor here.
I'd like to look for bones, like if I can find where something died and wander over there.
Go ahead and give me a perception task.
Sure. I'm not doing anything to modify this, although I'm skilled in understanding, assessing, or identifying materials. I think that'll come in if I find something. So this is just perception. And hey, I rolled a 0. So
all right. Yep. It's a forest. You do not see, you do not find any bones or anything right off.
Yeah. I'm looking for durable stuff and I just find like mossy stuff, not what I needed.
Cool. Yeah. Even finding stones is a little difficult here. There's so much like detritus built up on the forest floor. So
cool.
Is the so the seed that Omar was like planting, that's
it is comfortably under a little patch of moist earth. Nothing seems to be happening there.
We would like to try something, unless you have an idea, Ptolemy.
No, go ahead.
Or your goodness, Ptolemy, your most paginated Ptolemy.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We take out our hands and our little bony fingertip growths start to glow a little bit. We are casting a spell called Hell's Healing. Now, this could be exactly what we need, or it will be a horrible, horrible misstep. I'd just like you all to know that those are the stakes.
I'd like to remind you that this entire adventure is either exactly what we need or a horrible, horrible misstep. So it's appropriate.
that checks out. We cast, this is one of our forte abilities. So this is something about the way that I have all of these beings inside me, and they're all writhing and trying to be part of one body and attacking and defending and healing one another. And it's all kind of a bit of a mess in there. But I can, oh, this may not be quite right. I thought I could apply it to someone else. Maybe I'm wrong. It's that I can heal one wound that we have, and it closes or disappears with a whiff of brimstone. It's a green spell. If there's any way I can sort of apply this toward, the wound in the ground that we've created, I would like to. But now that I read it, I thought I could do it to someone else. This may not be quite right.
Yeah. Do you mean from the fire? Is that what you're referencing?
Mm-hmm. Or I meant where the seed is, actually.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Do you have to? I didn't understand you. By the way it's written, you have to do it to a person, or
I have
a
to do
living
it
thing?
to myself.
Oh, to yourself.
I thought it was a targeted thing, so I think I can't do that. So I'll hang out.
The red shaper leans over and pulls out this like elaborate, ornate swan-shaped blade, and just kind of senses your confusion about the use of this magic, and says, "Oh, if you need a wound on yourself to heal, I'm happy to."
Oh.
Oblige.
We look very excited about that. Please keep that in reserve. I may need a wound very soon.
I'm always here if you need.
You are too kind. Chat, give us more ridiculous things to call Palome and the Red Shaper. Your exuberance.
Omar looks back and forth from Palome to the Red Shaper like, what is happening here?
Wounds are great, kids.
Flirt squad.
So it's still
Flirt squad.
The forest is still quite quiet, but you hear a very distinct snap, not too far off, outside of what you can see. But there's a good solid branch snapping noise.
So the second that happens, Locke is up a tree.
Excellent.
With his pistol out.
Okay. The trees are wide. I mean, they're bigger rounds. It's like an old growth kind of forest, and overgrown with moss and stuff. So it's not trivial. You're gonna have to make a check.
Right.
Echopraxia won't count here because that was a different.
That was a completely different situation. Would that be a movement pool thing?
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want a sortilege?
I think. Oh, you know what? I've got plenty. I can do that as well. So I will spend one of those because I've still got 2 in reserve after this. So
excellent use of sortilege.
All right, we've got a 5 and a 1. Oh. So that's effectively a 2 and a 6 with the venture.
Sure. 6 will get you a good chunk up the tree, high enough to get the. You're mostly seeing the trunks, and you can like kind of wedge your fingers into the bark and find like where an old branch had snapped off enough to get yourself up onto the first like major branch of a nearby tree.
Yeah, so he has definitely done that, and he's pulled out his pistol and is basically trying to remain motionless while the rest of you do whatever the hell you're doing.
What the hell are the rest of you
all? I'm gonna take an action to refresh my sorcery pool.
Ooh,
good choice. Any other actions you guys want to take?
I'm getting
I'm making like the chittering noise you heard when I approached on my throne. Like I'm now doing that from my mouth, and it's moving in a really weird way. And I speak spider, by the way, and I'm calling all the spiders of the forest that are nearby within range. And I have a +2 in my attempts to persuade spiders to do things. But I'm just screaming in spider, and I'm shouting to like gather the army, and I'm basically just telling them to go and investigate and find out what is making this noise, and then send one of them back to me with a report.
Sure. So this does not intrinsically grant you any control over spiders. So you're going to need to make an interaction roll.
Yes. This is interaction.
How convincing you are to the spiders.
Yep. And I think that the spiders they don't have any reason to trust me or like me. I'm literally just shouting in their language. So I am going to put I'm going to go as far in on this as I can. So I am going to put one interaction Benny into this, and I am also going to spend a hidden knowledge on this because I have in the past stood on a hill and called together spiders as one to do things for me. So I know a little bit about how they react to having a stranger in their midst. So that's going to be a venture of 2, and I roll a 9.
Nice.
Wow, you guys are rolling well. There is, as you all see the red shaper doing this, making this odd chittering noise, and the forest floor and the trees all seem to shift slightly as she does this. It's disconcerting. There's motion where it seems like there shouldn't be motion. You don't see anything in particular. It's just there's like everywhere there's just a little bit of extra like skittering happening as this happens, and then one
out of character, that just freaks me out. I know I just brought that upon us, but
there's one like pretty like like baseball sized spider suddenly begins descending on a thick strand of web, like string, like a cord of web. It's just slowly descending down right over the red shaper's head. And it gets down to next to your ear. And
what did you find, my friend? I will say in spider.
It says, "Run, you fool, it comes. Why are you not hiding?" And then it skitters back with web.
Oh my. I'll just say out loud to everyone in non-spider, something is coming. We should hide.
And as that happens, a massive beast leaps from from the darkness, effectively, like coming through a bush. You just see this like huge feline form come crashing in, and I'm gonna say that it lands on Palome because she hasn't been up to anything lately, and so we're gonna GM shift onto you.
Nice.
Yeah, it's this huge feline beast comes and pounces and knocks Palome to the ground and stands growling over her. It's this spotted leopard that's all gray and black and silver and has 2 heads, both with huge ram-like horns curled over it. And you can see its tail has, instead of ending, like the tail is long and articulated and comes to a point that looks like it might be have some sort of like antler or horn type material on the tip of its tail as well.
Beautiful. Can I make a weave then?
Yeah, we're gonna go into initiative.
Okay, got it.
This thing's gonna try and eat you. So, and I forgot to mention the best part. So it has each of its heads has like sort of like circular jaws on either side. So it's like, instead of it being a 2-part jaw, it's a 3-part. There's like an upper, and then there's the 2 lower ones, and these rotate actually. So it's an interlocking mesh, kind of like a wood chipper kind of motion that's like growling over you.
That's very good.
With so.
Now we go into new sooth cards for every round.
Yes. Which I'm gonna have to get good at. I will probably do the sooth cards off screen for this, just because it's taking so long for me to swap them. So just bear with me. I'll we'll have the art for the more narrative sooth cards.
We bear with you or leopard with you?
I deserve that for the well met, I suppose. We're gonna go ahead and get started and roll initiative for me. So you need to make a task against the creature's level, which is going to be a level. It has an effective initiative of 7. This is a quick and terrifying beast.
This is a movement challenge?
Yes.
I'll spend a movement, Bene.
I will also.
Yep.
Boop, beep.
Womp, womp.
I got a 2.
Okay. So you're after.
I'm gonna spend a sortilege instead because it's riskier.
Okay.
I got a 4.
Sure. Okay.
I got a 5.
Oh wait, I got a 4. What? Yeah, let us know what card is in play. But I got a 4.
Yeah. So the golden ship is in play actually. So gold magic.
Calvin's card.
I know
Yeah.
Calvin.
Oh,
I almost have the text for that sort of hack of Invisible Sun written up of how to choose like a personal card. So that should be going out soon.
Nice. That's exciting. So gold magic is enhanced. Silver is diminished. Did nobody beat the creature, right?
No.
Oh, all right. Go ahead and make me a dodge roll, Palome. One of my favorite things about Invisible Sun is that the GM doesn't ever have to roll dice.
Yeah.
It's all on the player. So,
good.
I'm going to use a sortilege
Sure.
and spend a movement, Bene.
The difficulty is 5. It's not.
Okay.
It's not
So
as
I've
nasty
got-
as it is for its initiative.
You got all that sortilege to burn, my friend.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got a venture of 1 since I spent a Bene. And I did not make it. I got a 4.
Ooh.
That's the best
So
I
yeah, this beast is like, leaning over Palome, and one of its heads kind of glares at the rest of you kind of protectively as the other one like bends down and catches you in that nasty grinding, teeth. It's gonna be 5 points of damage. Do you want to spend a physicality to not have that be a wound?
Yes, I will. And so I still have 2 injuries, right?
It's just 1, right? Isn't it 4? Have
Oh,
I been wrong? How many injuries to a wound, Darcy?
3.
3.
3.
Oh, okay.
3.
All right. Yeah. So you do have 2 left over.
So I've got 2 injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
All right. And then how would you guys like to proceed? Everybody gets an action. You guys can do it in whichever order you like, or we can just go around if that's easier.
Does casting incantations cost sorcery?
No. Incantations are like ephemera.
Okay, then I think Omar will snap into action and cast Wires Suspended from Heaven Hang Taut, which allows all of us to fly as fast as we can run.
Excellent.
And he will immediately sort of leap into the air.
Okay.
Great.
Good job. Who would like to go next?
Locke is going to bring up the pistol to his lips and just sort of lightly kiss it and says, "It's time, Betsy." He's activating Weapon Whisperer to increase the level of his weapon by 1.
Fantastic.
Ooh, awesome.
Jason?
As Omar floats into the air, he yells, "Fly, you fools!" I mean that literally.
Jason, what would you like to do?
I'm just going to lean kind of ominously toward the creature, pretending I'm not scared at all by it. And I'm going to whisper at it. And I'm going to start in English and then switch to Spider. I don't think it matters which language. It doesn't have to hear it. I'm using a Forte ability, which is Jolt Mind. I disrupt the mental patterns of a being within short range, and they suffer mental damage in an amount equal to the level of this ability. Okay. This is a Forte ability, and so I can pour sorcery into it. And I'm going to spend, normally I couldn't do this, but because it's a Forte ability, I think I'll spend. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to spend 7 sorcery, which is my entire pool. And that's going to add to the level 3 that it already is. And so this is going to be effectively cast as a level 10 spell.
Wow.
And it will do the amount of damage equal to that. So I'm just going to lean in and I'm going to say, "Hello, friend creature. Welcome to our little party." And as I say party, I'm going to jolt its mind and cause it mental damage.
Sure. It has a defense of 6. It has +1 for its mental defense. So 6. But you have, I guess, When you play
in this case, I think that those
your
that
venture as
all
well?
adds to the venture. So literally, I'm adding 10 to my venture, so I should not, I think, need to roll in this case. Is that true? I'm casting a level 10 spell against a level,
Right. Yeah.
what do you say, six or seven creatures? So like,
yeah, right. Yeah. You see the there was the two heads, right? And one of them was kind of snarling at you, and that one, like, its eyes just roll back in its head, and it hangs limp. The other one is still, like, slavering over Palome, but that one in particular is just like there was no reaction, whatever. There wasn't even a squeak. It was just like gone in a heartbeat.
the effort, the exertion seems to have, I kind of do that, and the one head goes limp, but then I kind of reel back for a minute, like as though I have a severe headache or something.
Oh.
And then, have you taken an action yet, Roarke?
I have not in this combat.
would you like to do?
So I think Palome is actually going to try something a little unconventional. She's like, her pages are a little tattered. She's going to tear a page out of her head and kind of slap it onto the creature's side and sketch something really quick on the side. And it's actually a bigger version of this creature. And she's going to try to, but it's got a smiley face and like hearts around it.
Oh my gosh.
So
I love it.
I'm going to weave together joy from freedom and size from infinity to try to make this a bigger, happier version of this creature. See if that satisfies the task.
Oh,
which has a tripartite mouth for like smooching.
Yeah, it's great at kisses.
Oh, this is a complicated one because you need to, like, making it bigger and making it happy are kind of two different effects, right?
Yeah.
How long were you looking for this to be a permanent disposition change or just like a short-term one?
I think a short-term one would be fine.
Okay, because yeah, that's at least like a level 5 if you want it to last more than one round.
Okay.
Effect. And then as far as making it bigger at the same time.
Maybe I'm just making its heart bigger.
Aw.
Its capacity for loving.
We'll call, so it would normally be 5 because there's that extra stretch of having to work the bigness into it. I'm going to call that a level 6 effect.
Okay, great. So I'm going to spend, I've got a secret that I can spend intellect as if it were sorcery. Things like this.
Nice.
I'm going to spend 6. And can I spend Bene or anything on this as well, or do I need
if
to?
you're at 6, that's actually its defense, so you don't need to spend any more beyond
Awesome.
that.
So, yep, I spent all the sorcery for that.
Okay. So it's going to like kind of reel back and look like almost like you batted it on the nose, like it looks startled and kind of recoils for a second and then turns its head at you and then turns almost like it's defensive of you, like in kind of a protective posture, and hisses up at the tree at Locke.
What's is it Lord Rix is the only one who hasn't acted, right?
Yeah, what would you like to do, Darcy?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see. I really, like, this doesn't seem to be a demon, I wouldn't say, and so it's a little out of my wheelhouse. But Lord Rix has the ability to sort of fly now, right?
Yes.
I think Lord Rix is going to like get up and ideally sort of out of striking distance, and is like what I think I would like to lend my assistance somewhere. I'm not really sure where. So I have some abilities, like I guess I have who's climbing? Someone was climbing.
So Locke is up in the tree.
He's up in the tree.
Probably, actually, the red shaper is probably in the most danger at this point because she was having her kind of moment of weakness after pouring all of it into one attack.
Cool. I'm gonna go over by the red shaper then, and bring my demon who's supposed to be helping us along, and ask them to help guard us. So
okay.
We're gonna
Yeah.
try to form a wall for you.
Mazian kind of like interposes itself between you and the leopard, and you hear it. This is not ideal. It's like a little bar stool thing standing in front of this beast kind of 3 times.
Yeah, it's not a fair fight.
But it you know, grows some of its little fangs out, and it
Nice.
raises up its front 2 legs, kind of like, you know, defensive posture.
Aw.
And yeah,
That back to it, right?
yeah. So
Oh
it
boy.
is.
New
Let's
Seuss
see
Day?
here.
Yeah.
You are protecting the red shaper, and Locke, you hadn't floated off yet. You're still on the branch, right?
Nope, still on the branch.
All right. It's going to leap up and like climb the tree like super agilely. You can tell these claws are meant for this, and make an attack at you.
All right.
One head kind of lolling softly at its side, you know.
Okay. So that would be what, a movement defense?
Yeah, so it's going to be a dodge. You might be trained in dodge specifically as a skill. I don't remember. And then you
no
can
such
spend
luck.
Bene to increase your venture.
All right, so we're gonna increase the venture and definitely spending a sortilege on this because I do not want to get munched into pieces. So, oh yeah, we're looking at an 8 and a 1 with a venture of 1. So definitely
Fantastic, yeah.
all good.
So, you know, this beast spends most of its momentum getting up the tree, and you kind of manage to, like, you know, grab a branch above you and skitter farther out onto it. It doesn't get within reach of you. You know, you can hear that like nasty grinding noise of its, you know, circular jaws, kind of like just like anxious to get, you know, some flesh caught in there and grind it up.
Oh yeah, well he's going to respond in kind. So as it's coming up, he's leveling the pistol down at its face. Would that be an accuracy to make the attack?
You will be. It has one more action that it's going to take, and it's going to try and stab you with its tail as well.
Oh dear. Okay.
And so that's going to be at a difficulty 6, another dodge action.
Oh boy. That's going to be. Yeah, we'll spend the movement on that and see how it goes.
What's the Sooth card in effect? It was Golden Ship, and now it's sorry.
Yeah, it's. Need to get. I had to swap my OBS setup at the last moment, so I'm all out of sorts. It is Banished Serpent right now. So silver magic is increased.
Ooh.
And it's the little, you know, triune blobby one.
Awesome. All right. Well, with a
yeah.
with a 1, Locke is definitely not getting out of the way of Stabby McStab here.
Okay, yeah, it does. It catches you. You know, Locke's form is all very wispy and shifting. Features don't even, you know, stay the same from moment to moment. But it manages to find like a solid piece of you just underneath the clavicle and stab in. You take only 1 injury. You know, it's a pretty small wound, but you're going to need to make a withstand roll now.
Okay.
If you want to add a Bene to it.
Yeah, let's do that. And looking at. Oh, another 1. All right. He's not doing so hot.
I'm sorry. So you are you now have 3 Vex in your movement pool.
Okay.
Which are negatives that I can choose when you spend them. So
okay.
Oh yeah.
All right. Vex 3 movement.
But that's all it has. That's the rest of its move. What would you guys like to do?
So yeah, so let's say that like it stabs him and like right in his left shoulder, so he's going to attempt to shoot it, and that would be, like we said, accuracy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so doing that, and oh yes, that is a 9 and a 3 on the die with venture of 1.
That will hit it. And what level is it effectively now?
It is effectively a level 5 now.
Nice.
It's a medium weapon +1. So yeah, 5 damage.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you just like take a big chunk out of it, like you kind of catch it, you know, right in the shoulder, but you expose like bone and, you know, just like rip a good chunk out of it with that ornate pistol that you have. And you feel Betsy vibrating with satisfaction as you pull the trigger.
Yeah, he's going, here, kitty, ow, boom. Right.
Nice.
I think he sort of like falls backwards out of the tree and sort of realizes he can fly at the last second and picks himself up.
Excellent. All right. Who would like to go next?
I've got something.
Sure.
This thing's pretty big, right?
Yes.
And it's turned away from Palome?
Yes. Yeah. It seemed protective of Palome.
Okay. So Omar has like floated up into the air, and he's gonna float above this thing, and he's gonna use Complaint of the Lost, which is a silver bangle that allows him to create objects. And he's just gonna make like a silver sword in the air, which as soon as he lets it go, is just gonna fall down on this thing and stab it.
Okay. Silver magic is diminished right now because of the Sooth card in play.
Ooh.
So what effective level would this be?
I think the silver. That's a good question. Complaint of the Lost is an ephemera object. Ooh, hang on, let me look it up. I was like, I just saw it. So Complaint of the Lost is a level 2 object. It creates a single random non-magical item.
Oh, interesting.
What the level
it's random.
Wait,
Interesting.
It creates a random item?
Oh.
I'd be fascinated to know what item it is.
That's not super useful.
Level 2.
You create a silver ashtray.
Yeah, sure. Actually, you know what? Sure. We'll do it.
We'll pull a Wile E. Coyote on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Omar holds out his hand. So it's worth noting, this is actually pale magic for some reason. Because he doesn't actually create these objects, he actually steals them from other places.
Right.
And they get
this is transition from somewhere else in the actuality.
Right. Specifically somewhere else where someone is already using it. Like someone is in the middle of using.
Yeah, some socialite somewhere in Saturnine was just about to tap her cigarette and
make it an engagement ring.
Oh,
Darcy.
You're such a knife twister, Darcy.
Wreck it.
I mean, it says this object allows the wearer to conjure a single random non-magical item that they can hold in one hand. Does it really make like a random item?
Yeah.
But that sounds right to me.
Can I change my action slightly?
Sure, that's fair.
Okay, I'm gonna use my other ability to create items, which is I'm gonna use my portability creation, which allows me to create a simple inanimate object that I can hold in my hand, like a weapon, tool, or an item of clothing.
All right.
You can make like an actual thing. So cool. Yeah, I'll make the sword.
All right, good deal.
It doesn't say the level of the object.
No, that's fine. You make a sword. It functions like a sword. You are going to have to make an attack with it though, even if you're dropping it or throwing it or anything along those lines.
So yeah, I'll spend an accuracy bene and drop this thing.
Go for it.
4 total. That's not very good.
Will not do it, unfortunately. So you don't want to get into too close proximity to this thing. So you are kind of dropping this sword from above, and it sticks into the branch next to it, but does not actually hit the beast at all. Who would like to go next?
Do you want to, Darcy?
Go for it.
So Palome's gonna call up to Locke. Sorry, I really thought that would work. And she's going to kind of it pains her since this creature is now defensive of her, but she's going to cast Anger Hates Itself most of all, targeting this poor beast.
Okay.
So a nearby creature's flesh literally grows extra hands and talons to tear at itself.
Oh boy.
And this is and this is a gold spell, so it'll be stronger.
Advanced?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And what level is it to start
It's
with?
level 7.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. So
And so it would suffer 2 wounds if this worked.
yeah, it'll work.
I want to know what that looks like when you cast it. This is a
Yeah,
thing
what
you just say and then...
I think Palomi's actually gonna like look away and kind of touch the
Oh.
tattered pages on her head and like just kind of like twitch a finger in the direction of the thing.
Cool.
So that it's got 2 heads right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has 2 heads, and it's the one that's just sort of lolling, sort of limp at its side, like just like it curls in on itself and like bites itself like with that mouth that was just hanging like loose before. And you also see additional like claws like kind of protruding out from the sides of where its cheeks were, just like sinking into its own flesh. It's the other side from where Locke shot it, and as like it's almost like as a tooth sinks in, another claw like reaches out and grabs the next place. It's like just slowly spreading down its body, little protrusion, like, ripping it apart. That's a really gruesome
spell.
The cat is just making this yowling noise, just awful, like bone.
Can I do something?
Yeah.
I was planning to like, you know, recover my sorcery and like heal myself this round or something, but like I have in my I have, you know, tucked in, she reaches into the like just the sash, just a little bit of the cloth that she still has around her waist, and she pulls out a little black vial, and I don't exactly know how I'm going to get this into the creature, but honestly, I'm just going to take a risk. I'm going to get down there and just try to like, you know, take the top off this thing and like shove the whole thing into its mouth. I don't know what I have to
branch, but I guess you can fly. So you're flying up to it?
I can fly. Yeah, I'll fly over to it, and my whole goal is just to like pull the cork off this thing and just like jam my hand down into its mouth and try to get in there, one of the 2 mouths in the middle of all of this.
Okay. Well, I mean, like, if it just needs to be in, like, if a wound will work, there's no shortage of them out, like, you know, along that side of its body right now, right? You can definitely do that.
That's a good question. Let me see if
it needs to be ingested specifically, that's going to be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. Let me find out. Let's see. I think it probably needs to be ingested, and I know this isn't rational and it's hard, but I'm just going to try.
Yeah, go for it. That is.
It's really just like accuracy, maybe. I think just trying to get into this gnashing mouth.
Yeah, I'm going to call it a difficulty 7. It's going to be harder than just hitting it.
Yeah, totally. All right, so I have no sorcery because I just spent all of it. So I'm in kind of a dangerous spot, but I'm going to spend 1 sortilege and 1 accuracy bene on this. So I'm rolling 2 dice. I have a +1 from the accuracy bene, but I also have I forgot to apply this before, but my angel is there and gives me a +1 to all tasks that I attempt. So that's actually a benefit of 2. And so I think the angel, yeah, I don't know. And I will roll. Let's see. I have a 9.
Yeah.
Dang.
On one of the dice.
Yeah, so this thing, like, it's the lower jaw doesn't separate. Those are always like enmeshed teeth, but it does open away from that top you know, the top row, and that's where it's just creating this like deep, like painful guttural yowl right now, and you manage to just like nobody thinks this is a good idea. This is very ill-advised. The red shaper comes in and like just you manage to like jam the vial into those intermeshed teeth, and it just breaks and pulls it into its body. What is the effect?
This is like logistically not a reasonable time to use this. It's a level 13 object of power.
Oh my gosh.
What?
It is an existence antidote, and it causes the drinker to immediately vanish from existence forever. No pale, No, nothing else. No other part of the actuality. This creature does not exist.
Oh my
It was
god.
just the fastest possible way I could figure out how to make it not be in pain, but also not be a problem to us anymore.
Oh,
It's gone. It does not exist.
Oh,
efficient.
Bridge Shaper.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought my spell was rough.
Yeah, so you see this like black liquid break into its jaw, and it like you watch it unmake itself as if you're watching it like through a CAT scan or something like that. You see
Whoa.
row by row for a second, like through its innards and stuff. Not like, you know, it's not gory, it's not leaving out. You just watch it erase from existence through it until there's nothing left but the sudden grim quiet of the forest.
Deleting.
But it's not in pain.
No, yeah, no, not in pain.
Leopard
it's
monster
not.
not found.
Not, yeah.
Omar like drifts down slowly from the canopy where he was flying, and as his feet touch the ground, he looks around and he's like, maybe we were the monsters all along.
Oh my gosh.
The ground beneath you, you know, is already kind of squishy and gave way underneath you, but things just seem to become more and more insubstantial, almost like your vision's getting blurry, all except for the five of you and your your angel and demon companions, and as if you were. I mean, it's dream logic, right? It just transitions scenes, and you are suddenly standing before a library.
The best son.
That is made of books. The front columns are stacks of books. There's a portico of books. There, you can see windows that are like, you know, the sill, the framing. Everything is books. There's scrolls that make up the lintel bars in between, you know, the panes. The glass itself is very like oiled parchment that, you know, lets light through. The door stands open before you.
Palomi's gonna immediately like jump up and kind of flit into the door and start browsing the scrolls and like reading all the titles and like opening them up, seeing what's in them.
Yeah. It's books of all kinds of shapes, sizes, descriptions, none of them you've ever seen before. Many in languages you don't know. But yeah, they're just chock full of them. You have, I mean, you go in and you see that there's just like rows on rows, and it's the same thing. The floors are books. You have to like walk on the covers of these books to get in. The ceiling completely, you know, made with these like the interior ceilings are these like domed like structures of all the books resting on top of each other, and it looks super precarious, but like all of the internal structure is books. And
wow,
perhaps saddest of all, there's a few little like stone like tableted like tomes. You know, you can see the pages in it, but they have like actual rock for their front and back cover, and atop them there are small piles of books burning to illuminate the inside.
Has everyone else been to my home?
If you've invited us.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Palomi's home is actually kind of like a smaller version of this. It's built of books, but they're all books that I've read. So this is a lot like that, but less familiar and a lot more overwhelming. But it makes me think that somehow my home is a microcosm of the blue.
Oh, cool. Has it been an hour since we've started, or is this less time?
Yeah, it's probably about an hour now. Like, I mean, both of those were fairly quick events, you know, because Palomi structured the weave of the boat fairly quickly, and then you weren't in the forest for too long before the beast attacked. So we'll say anything that you needed to check for depletion after an hour is probably time to check.
Okay. I'm checking for my indigo spell. Hey, I made it. It's good for another hour.
Excellent. How long did you have Mazion for?
Apparently it's a whole day now that up into the 2nd degree of Goetic. And now
Ooh.
I am a Mysterion. So I thought I had him only for an hour.
You're so fancy.
I also think my familiar helps me out with intellect tasks a little bit and various things. So I sort of snap my finger and Frickus starts crawling out of a little bone fossa.
You must describe Frickus for us.
Well, I'm open to details, but I believe Frickus is, I'm wondering, there's a particular bit of Invisible Sun art that has 2 Vizla, like one with a big snow globe for a head, smoking. And the smoke that's sort of emanating out of their like drink and their strange pipe is the smoke is all sorts of strange symbols. So imagining it's this little like symbol smoke creature.
Nice, I like it.
Sort of whispers up by my ears.
That art always reminds me of a Christmas card. Like I feel like it's totally like
It's
an Invisible Sun Christmas card. So sweet.
Oh my gosh, we should definitely make Invisible Sun Christmas cards. That's happening now.
I'm just imagining like Calcifer, except for smoke and symbols instead of actually fire.
Yes.
Okay, so you have Mazion, you have
Mazion is still tasked with protecting me and
excellent.
us.
And what would you like to do?
I think we should look around. Do you the challenges are strange to me. The first seemed to it was a place of creation, the second was a place of life, and yet we destroyed that creature, but was it an aberrant creature to that sun? This is not I am not as deeply academic about the Path of Suns as all of you are, and neither are we. So I would appreciate any advice you have.
Mostly me, really. I believe that this place is analogous to the Blue Sun. I think we were allowed to leave the green, perhaps because we had both created and destroyed. The green sun does have an element of sort of cyclical life and death. So I wonder if that wasn't it. The blue sun's purview is thought and memory and dream. So I wonder if there isn't a specific thought or memory or dream that we need to find in here. That would be my first thought. Maybe it was that one.
Here I was hoping you were going to say we could just take a nap
and dream it all away.
Nothing's attacking us. I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit. Let's see, how does this work? Omar kind of touches sort of his chest and pulls his hand away, and as he does so, this little fox kind of jumps out of his chest. It's like a perfectly formed little fox with it looks totally normal, but it does have a little stripe of silver fur that runs down its back. He's casting Fernauer's Fox, which is a advanced spell. The fox is level 2, and he's going to. I can converse with it in whispers, and it can go away from me up to very far and investigate and come back and tell me what it's found. But I check each level for depletion. So I bend down and I tell it, investigate the library and then come back and tell me what you found.
Okay.
And it goes and scampers off.
Yep, skitters off around a corner, a pillar of books.
Plomi's actually going to be looking for something specific. So I'm fluent in a language that I learned in a dream and have never found anyone else who's been able to speak it. So I'm going to try to find a book in that language.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
I love that.
That's super good. Yeah, go ahead and give me a roll for that. It'd be anything like searching.
I guess perception. Would that be?
Perception roll.
Okay, I'm going to use a sortilege and a bene from that.
Excellent.
Ooh, okay. I got a 0 on the mundane die, and I got a 4 on the magic die.
What was your venture?
1, so that was 4 with the venture.
Okay, Oh, for with the venture?
Yeah.
Yeah, you search for some time and you don't find a full book of it, but you do find one book that seems to be a book of translations,
Ooh.
and it has a word in a script that you recognize as being from that language.
Interesting.
And that word is it translates it's one of those things that doesn't translate directly. There's no like good one-to-one, but it's the closest word would be nocturne. It's like a very dark, moody music kind of vibe. The book itself is called the Tract of Immaculate Words.
So just gonna kind of like make a note of that in her head.
Okay.
Locke is definitely going around, and he's sort of making a show of like holding up his arm and waiting for someone to say something, and no one does. They all just, he's like, oh, okay, fine. And so he walks around and he starts looking for like any books that look like they're sort of tucked away or hidden. And he's just going to try and find something small that he can just subtly take with him. I mean, he is a thief of ideas, so
sure, yeah. And again, none of you are seeing any books that you recognize. There's a lot of languages represented, and it's probably only half of them are in a language you recognize right off. Lord Rix, you're probably seeing more because there's some dialects spoken in the red, or like some in the language of the legacy that you can pick up a little bit more of. But there's just a whole lot of scatterings of stuff. Is there anything in particular, like any type of book you're looking for, Locke? Or
I mean, something that like, oh gosh, I mean, I think he would be looking for something not so much like by its appearance, but more like where it is, of like something that looks like it's hidden away.
Yeah, it's a needle in a haystack kind of proposition, right? Let's do a roll. It'll be an intellect task. If you have any searching or
I mean, it's got magical lore, but I don't know that really helps.
Yeah, I don't think that would apply here.
All right. So gets a 3, and like if he can't find something in particular, he's just going to grab a book because he figures something is better than nothing.
Sure. Yeah, you don't find anything hidden. Like everything, it's hard to hide when it's all one material, right? Like you pick up a book and there's a book underneath. Was that book hidden? Like
yeah.
So it's you find one that has like really nice like gilted edges and those little like corner caps that seem to be actual like gold, and they're set with small stones.
Oh yeah, that's extremely his jam.
Yeah.
And so he just like sort of tucks that away, and he sort of winces a little. He does that. He's like, and he sort of like looks down at the wound and goes, "Do I really want to?" And he starts looking around for something he could use for like a bandage, and it's all just like paper. And he's like, I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah, you do still feel like the you can spend a physicality to remove the injury because it's just an injury. It's not a full wound. You do still have the vex though, and you can just feel it, that stiffness in your muscles. Like everything just hurts. And when you're used to being so fluid and quick to move, that's obnoxious to you.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just walking around with a sour look on his face.
Sure. Yeah. So Omar, your fox returns, and it communicates to you with whispers. Is that correct? Yeah. So it skitters up your back, perches on your shoulder, and leans in close and says, "There are books. Many books."
Buddy.
Did you find anything like specific books that smelled different, maybe, or felt different?
Old books. Some books made of creature. Some books. Mostly just books.
Okay, great. Cool. Go find me the oldest book you can find in here.
Okay, and skitters, around to your other shoulder and down your leg and scampers off again.
It survives another round.
Nice.
In the
check
meantime,
every round?
What's that?
You have to check every round?
Check every round, yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
In the meantime, Omar is going to go looking for a book about the deeps of sleep, because that's a place that he's very interested in.
What is Lord Rick's up to?
What's that?
What is
We
Lord
look
Rick's
for
up to?
names.
Oh.
You can tell a book of names in several ways. Some book of names are very accomplished and many used goetic resources where you can tell the way that they thumb through looking for a specific name. There's a pattern worn into some of the books, so we are either looking for that or something about the binding, something that indicates various ways that names can be written down, symbols, cartouches, sort of like there are several identifiers that might accompany a book of names, and we are looking for those.
Excellent. Go ahead and give me a roll to look for one.
Sure.
Intellect
I will
test.
spend a bene, and do I have any sortilege left? Because I would totally use it on this, because book of names, kind of a big deal. So, one moment while I make that roll. All right, for my mundane die, a 9 and a 1, but not a 0 on my magic die.
Excellent. You find a book that is exactly what you were saying before, like is well thumbed. It's a book of names, but like it falls open to certain pages.
Yeah.
And you even find some marginalia of someone saying this is the name of a demon that's adept at blood pacts, and there's another one that is gifted in astrology.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
The names are Grulz, no vowels, Grrrlz is the first one. And then awesome. The second one is Alwyn.
Alwyn. Awesome. As I'm doing so, I'm I pull out a little notebook of my own and sort of make, I'll keep the book with me if I can, but trying to commit that to memory.
Sure. Yes. So, yeah, it's a weird sense of timelessness in this place. Like it's easy to get lost, just like it is in a library or a good bookstore. There's always something interesting to be attending to, always something to read. All of you get the sense after a while you're not really sure how long you've been here. I guess I should check for when your fox comes. Sorry, I shouldn't have lapsed time while we still had a fox running around. Your fox brings back the oldest book that it can find by its judgment, and kind of drags it over to you. It's got little tooth marks in one corner now. It is like a musty tome that like it clearly moving across the floor to be brought to you has like just done horrible damage to it. Pages are falling out. It's just if you pick it up, you can feel like the very act of lifting it off the ground is like breaking the cover. It's so like frail.
Can I get any sense of like what it's called or what it might say? Like
the cover is completely like it is a flat, like a brown of it has lost several layers over the ages. Gingerly flipping through, I'm actually going to ask for a movement task to flip through the pages without destroying it and see if you can find one intact enough.
Okay, I'm gonna spend my second movement bene.
Sure.
So I rolled a 6.
Okay.
And then +1 for the movement bene.
Excellent. Yeah. So you do find a page it's faint. It's hard to read. Like the ink is faded out. It's it's like a sepia on beige kind of thing. But bringing it closer to the little pyre of books nearby, you can faintly make out. And it seems to be describing a time when the suns were unified, when there was not 8, 9 suns, when there was a single sun that you could find all things under, and it speaks of a fracturing of the suns.
This is super fascinating to Vanderall. Let's see, what can he do? I think he's gonna very, very gingerly put this book into his bag with the hope that he might be able to have it magically repaired and be able to read it, or like magically sort of like aged in reverse and be able to read it later.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as a maker, or sorry, you're not a maker. You're not.
I'm not a maker. Somebody else can do it.
Yeah.
You look an awful lot like a maker I knew once, though.
Guy's more deciduous than I am.
It seems possible. It seems it'll be a hard task, but it seems possible.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I think given that it destroyed a book, I think Omar actually dismisses the fox. Like it just sort of like disappears into silvery wisps. He didn't keep the spell. And I think that he's just gonna start wandering the stacks, sort of just like letting chance guide him.
Sure, yeah. As I said, you do feel that that dragging of time, and sort of like there is always something to look at, but it does start to creep on you that like you could spend a literal eternity here. Like there's so many interesting things that it starts to become like a little overwhelming, even for your hungry Vizla brains,
Mm-hmm.
I think Locke at this point, like we've been here a little while, and like nobody's making any progress as far as he can tell, and so he just sort of like looks around and basically finds the smallest book that he can, and just like meh, and just starts like flipping through it and reading it because he doesn't know what else to do, and so he's just going to read it through to the end to see if that does anything.
Okay. Yeah, it's a book of children's fairy tales, and they're all short and sweet and concise and a little grim and gory.
You can sort of like hear from wherever he is, like he starts to make like little animal noises as he's reading it, and he starts reading it aloud, and the whole bit, and starts doing voices, and it's going a little stir crazy.
Yeah, sure. And as you are as you're reading it, you hear little animal noises responding to you, like as you're reading through this book. You hear chirps and chitters and little almost words.
I'm not the only one hearing this, right? And then the little panda went into the forest, chewed on bamboo for days and days and days. Munch, munch, munch.
Yeah, there's a faint sound of crunching from somewhere nearby.
He starts like walking around with it and is like reading it and like looking around corners and like picking up books, and yeah, so he's doing that, and he's trying to like find you all as he's sort of like wandering around, but he keeps reading it. Like it's like going. Let's see, who would he find? Probably like Palomi, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I
And
think
so like
Paloma would come when she starts hearing you read aloud. And at first kind of like sits there in child's pose and just waiting and almost like nodding off. But then when you get up to start walking around, she follows you.
And like, yeah, so he's reading and making the sounds, but like, can Palomi also hear them?
Can she?
Actually, when you're at that sort of liminal state, when you are almost nodding off, you're like just on the edge, actually dropping off as Locke's, voice kind of drones on these very simple stories. You do start to hear and see and even feel the experience of the little panda and the bamboo forest. It's almost as if you can taste the bamboo between your teeth before Locke gets up and stirs and you decide to follow.
The blue is the sun of knowledge, but also the sun of dreams. Maybe we should all fall asleep. Or is that dangerous? I don't know. I'm thinking aloud here. What do you think, Locke?
So he pulls out like a pen and just like he like goes to write in the book. Is Palomi okay with that? Is she gonna?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
He says, and then they all fell asleep and moved on to the next sun in the well period. And then he says that aloud and sees what happens.
Sure.
I love that.
It's so good. Wait, couldn't you have just had us written us to the last sun? write us to the end of the challenge.
Yeah,
you successfully completed all of the challenges.
That is not what I had in mind, but I really like that solution, and we're going to go with it. You find yourselves.
Vizla would not like cheating.
Yeah. As you put the final period in the book, all of you are back at Vizla as well.
Oh,
Like
that was
like. Does he still have
some good?
Well,
Mano smiles to see you all return. Says, don't think that you're quite done yet. I am the Indigo Challenge.
Oh yeah.
In order to pass, you must add to the truth of the worlds. You must reveal one secret known only to you.
Oh.
And she just stands there, like with an expectant look on her face.
Omar, I really, really hate your cooking. I'm very sorry.
Fantastic.
I've never told anybody.
We step forward. There is a demon working for the legacy.
Ooh. Thank you very much.
I think No, go ahead.
Omar steps forward and then like blushes and steps backwards.
Omar.
Locke, I do appreciate your sharing, but opinions do not add to the truth of the world.
Okay.
I had to try.
Palomi's actually going to take a sheet of paper, kind of like almost like pulling a pencil from her ear, but from the book that is her head. And she's going to actually write down a song, a nocturne, in the language that only she knows.
Yes.
Oh.
And instructions on how to perform it.
That is beautiful. Mana will receive it and like touch it to her heart like this, and then do the same thing she did, where she presses her hands together and it vanishes. Thank you, Palomi. That was beautiful.
Does anyone else have any?
The red shaper. Yeah, the red shaper steps forward and pulls out her grimoire and flips through the pages and finds a particular spell that she knows. It is a blue spell, and casts it on herself. And in the process of doing so, it becomes obvious that she's experiencing a really delicate kind of anguish that is not physical pain and is not exactly mental pain, but she begins weeping, and just like slow, large tears just kind of start. And she looks up, and each of you recognize in different ways there has been something you have like loved and longed after in your life that was just absolutely unrequited. Like just this thing was not possible, but you wanted to be near it more than anything. And each of you have whatever that was for your character flickers by. And in that moment, all of the facade that you've ever seen, in your various ways of knowing the Red Shaper, that all just melts away for a moment. And she says, the thing that I've never known is, she says, there's a secret art to the magic of destruction, and oh no, Zoom just kicked me out. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
We still hear you.
Oh, okay, right. I'm on the phone. She says she says this word, which is not a word any of you have ever heard, and then she explains and says, like, this is maintenance. Like there's a type of magic that my research has brought me to that I don't know how to perform, but it is the magic of maintenance, the magic of continuation. She says this word is the key, and I truly believe no one has ever come across this truth before. It's the result of my life's research so far, and she speaks the word out into the room.
Wow. Thank you.
Omar, after the Red Shaper casts her spell, Omar is also crying, and pulls out like a handkerchief and sort of like dabs his eyes away. I wasn't certain that this was the secret that I'd share. Vances pride themselves on education and sharing knowledge rather than hoarding it, most of us anyway. But I am in love with Alanef Sandip, which is a name that like some of you probably know, like someone who's connected to Omar. Locke knows Alanef, like they're Omar's coworker. And Omar has never evinced any kind of romantic interest in them. But obviously he's been like holding this secret very, very close to his heart.
Locke just like goes over and like holds out his arms like, "Hey buddy, you want a hug?"
Yeah, Omar will take Locke
Yeah,
up on the hug.
And he steps back
and she reaches out to you, Locke, and kind of like runs her hand through the wispy like edges where you don't quite exist. And you who do so much to conceal, to disguise, to hide, what truth do you have to offer?
and he I think he like moves his lips close to her ear and tells her his name. And he says, "That is why I hide."
I understand.
And then steps back.
Thank you, Locke. You, I'm sure, have noticed the pattern of moving through these challenges at this point. That means I believe you know what comes next.
do we have to go back to Shadow itself, or merely a simulacrum of Shadow, an echo of an echo?
A Waluigi, if you will.
Exactly. A signifier without substance, precisely.
No, the first three challenges are challenging, certainly, but not near so much as the second half of the journey that I'm about to ask of you. From here, you must return to Shadow and live out a mundane life, knowing at some portion of your mind of what you're missing. You must face death alone, part with everything you've become attached to, leave the world you knew behind. You must face utter destruction and then be reborn. If you're willing to drink once more of the well, you'll be gifted a second life. You will pass through all of Shadow, all of the grim darkness of the pale, of the separation from your existence as you know it. You'll pass through the destruction of the red till you're reduced to component atoms, always knowing, always having consciousness through this entire journey, only sustained by the hope that you'll reach the final stage and be reborn, sufficient to learn the secret. Is this something you're willing to do, Vizla?
I have a question. Is she lying to me?
No.
Okay.
Okay, that was not in character.
No. That's
okay.
That's Omar. That's Omar.
Yeah.
Like Omar's paying special attention with his indigo.
Okay.
He's pretty sure that as a spirit of truth, she couldn't lie, but it would be very sneaky to have like the lying, the like illusion and lies part of the challenge start here.
That's true.
Omar's like, if I
Correct.
was setting up the challenges, I would definitely have that.
Spirit, if we leave now, will we retain the information we have gathered so far?
If you leave now, you will have none of your identity, except in the sense that you will know that something is missing. But you will also not have the gift of losing consciousness when you die. You will exist until you are reduced to component atoms and then be reformed.
Leave as in leave the tower, or leave as in go to the gray.
What are the consequences of not drinking?
You may walk away if you wish. It's a question of if you value the knowledge.
There are other questions at work. I will ponder first. Do you know what your choices will be, friends?
I committed to walking the path of suns, and the latter half of that path is one of illusion, death, destruction, and rebirth. I can't turn from that now. Similarly, though, I can't ask any of you to make that same decision. And I think Omar actually like hugs he hugs Locke. He extends his hand and shakes the Red Shaper's hand if she'll take his hand. He nods to Lord Vrix. He also nods, like shakes Paloma's hand. And then I think he walks up the stairs.
I think Paloma would just pull in for a hug.
Yeah, they hug. Yeah, and he's gonna walk up the stairs and drink from the pool.
Okay.
Locke takes like a step up and then pauses
Sure.
as
As you see Omar drinking from the pool, you see everything. He has his very nicely tailored suit. He has his kind of like his briefcase that he has with him. All of his, the things that you know him by, all of his possessions and objects of power that he's collected. They waft off of him like smoke. You just see him standing there before you, and then he fades away as well.
Locke, I think, turns around and starts heading for the exit. And he doesn't look at any of you.
I'm sorry, I had trouble hearing that. What was that?
Yeah.
So Locke turns around and he walks to the exit from the building, and he won't make eye contact with any of you. And he just sort of pauses there and just puts his head against the wall. Yeah.
There's no shame in walking away. The cost is great.
The Red Shaper stands up. She looks as though she's been just in agony, sort of trying to decide between two difficult things in her mind. But then, with a moment of resolve and clarity, she stands. She walks up to the pool, removes the final piece of fabric that she's had on, and with that also actively unwinds the spell. And so, for just a moment, she's standing there like naked, and she says out loud, my whole life I've been talented in making. I've been talented in unmaking. These things have come very easily for me. But I believe that there must be threads that connect the two. And I think it's impossible to find those without walking the rest of this path. And she...
before you go...
Finally, at last... Yes, my friend.
If you're going back to Shadow, I think you'll need someone who knows who you are. And Palomi's gonna walk up the stairs and join the Roadmaker.
Oh, my heart.
she takes Palomi's hand. She takes off the crown, which similarly none of you've ever seen her without this crown, and she just sets it at the bottom, and actually she bows finally very low to the ground before all of you, and then kind of looks at Palome and says, "Shall we do this together?"
We may as well already have.
And takes a step into the pool.
And Palomi does as well.
They slip beneath the water without a splash or a sound. Manoa has tears in her eyes as well, but a smile on her face. She turns to Locke and says, "Lord Vrix."
He hears all of that, and he sort of stands back up and just looks at them, waiting, I think, to see what they do.
You have more at stake than any of them, Lord Vrix. You have a multitude within you that you'll have to release and be alone once more. Be more alone than you've ever been.
Every insect follows something. Perhaps it's light, a scent. Every creature has smells that attract it and paths that want it to take.
Time with his sick wife. CBS 2.
We can be the light in that darkness through shadow, through fire, through death, through rebirth. This knowledge might be hard won for these friends of ours, but we may speed it along. astrology, blood pacts, and the knowledge of many other things are at our fingertips, and we will use that time, that knowledge wisely. They may return faster than you may have anticipated, friend of the Indigo. What about you, Locke? We will stay here and light the way.
I've run away from too many things in my life already. And he walks back to the two of them, and I think he pulls out the book that he had and hands it to Lord Brix, and then he also I don't think anyone has ever actually seen him of this group not wearing what he is now, and so he reaches into his shirt and pulls out something, and it's on a chain, and he pulls it and breaks the chain, and he puts his hand out, sort of face down, and drops a little pendant into their hand, and it's like a little golden horse, and he says, "If I don't come back, open that." And it's like a little locket, and he steps up the stairs and takes a deep breath and walks into the well.
I'm sad I wasn't there to watch that courageous moment because I was already gone.
He's never going to tell Omar.
Manoa turns to Lord Rix and says, "You have also made a brave choice to stay behind. And I think that there is value in having an anchor, a lighthouse, to call these souls home. I cannot say how long it will take, but if you wish, I would welcome the company in waiting."
Dang.
Gah.
Yep.
Yes. Can we cut there? Because that's so good.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Wonderful.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so moved. Jeez.
Oh, that was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys. Thanks for
Thank you, Ian.
Man.
God, Ian.
Yeah, thank you so
Incredible
much.
job. What a beautiful, Invisible Sun can be really hard to do a one-shot of. And this is a beautiful taste of it all encapsulated with a heartbreaking ending, which is exactly what I'm here for.
Such an Invisible Sun ending.
Yeah, I know. Oh,
you can
great
smooch Manoa off scene if you want.
Yes.
Dance, we do all the other things we didn't quite get to.
We have to go on a date first, and it's going to take months before I figure out how to ask them.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, man, no,
We can side scene it.
Someone needs to write that.
I the whole time this episode's been going on, I've been like, I don't write fan fiction or journal about my characters, but I was like, I'm gonna journal so hard about these characters. I need to know those stories.
Who can write a rom-com with two characters in one room for
yeah, for sure.
Well, it's not really just two people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point.
There's gonna be some fighting.
Yeah, there's lots of material there, lots of personality.
Well, thank you guys
incredible.
so much once again, everybody who came to chat, who helped us support Extra Life and donated to help children's hospitals. It's so important. I love the work they do and have been so good for the gaming community. I really appreciate that you guys were here and a part of it. again, if you're interested in Invisible Sun, Kickstarter's running now. Darcy, until when? I don't actually know when it ends.
November 16th.
Awesome. So you got a window here. So if you
Mhm.
if you liked what you saw here, feel free to check it out there. Yeah, and yeah, it's just, I love this community. I love like I have met a lot of amazing people through this game and through Monty Cook games in general, and it makes me really happy to be able to be here and play with you guys. So thanks so much for coming out today.
Can we plug Truth Bleeds at Twilight, just in case there's anyone
Yes.
who...
We certainly can.
Please.
So, Jason and I co-GM Truth Bleeds at Twilight, which is an Invisible Sun campaign that is on Monty Cook's channel. We are coming up on the finale. We have one more show in this season. We have a surprise guest that we're super excited about. So you have just enough time to go back and catch up through the backlog if you want. You'll be all set for when we come back for our finale, which is
on the 17th.
17th. Thank you.
Hey, Darcy.
Yeah.
Darcy, could we use this as a forum to reveal our surprise guest?
I love that. Yeah.
Is that fair?
That's
Go for it,
great.
Ian.
No, Jason, by all means. I've talked plenty.
Oh, cool. This is fun because actually some of the people on our stream don't even know this yet. But Sean Reynolds is going to be joining us, reprising his role as Siru. So it's super exciting for me because it makes for a great crossover between the worlds. And so we will have a character from Raven Wants What You Have, who's going to be joining us for Truth Bleeds at Twilight. So really excited to be alongside Sean for that, and it should be a good finale. There's been a lot of different things happening that are all coming together very rapidly. So come join us if you can.
Yeah, you can check out the full backlog on the Monty Cook channel for that.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, it was true pleasure to play with all you guys today. Thank you so much for making the time and coming out. Thanks for Monty Cook Games for matching the donations through this. And remember, if you donated $15,
so great.
You have store credit coming your way as well.
Yes, that'll be coming right after the stream. I'm gonna sort of process it every night. So
awesome.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And
Thanks,
I will figure out which computer I'm actually streaming from, so I can go ahead and sign off. Have a wonderful night, everybody.
Have a good
Incredible.
weekend,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Bye. Stay safe.
Bye, everybody.